Okay, everybody, mic's on. We'll call the meeting order at 6 o'clock with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry about that. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Devin, did you mention that there was maybe something that needed to be changed on this or no?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you, Arvid. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Van. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes licenses and permits, operators licenses, special event permits, board, committee, commission, agency reports, approval of vouchers payable, and a budget summary. Anybody have any questions on what's been presented in the consent agenda?
The actual permits were not attached for the events.
I believe we have them now. Is that correct?
Oh, sorry, I didn't get a chance to look at them. Let me
I
go
thought
there.
you handed them to Devin.
Oh, she had it in my agenda.
Could we pull out the cornhole tournament just to hear what that is?
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a bags tournament that's happening at the ball field,
All right, Carrie, it's not loading.
That's the extent of it?
pretty much.
Okay, never mind then.
That's a new deal.
Right?
It's a fundraiser for the fair.
Yeah.
Okay, I would be okay with the consent agenda with the caveat that I'd like to see them again in the future because
It will be in the packet.
yeah, and I get that this one was long. It's just in the past, some of the permit applications have been lacking in information. And I think it's good for our, the police department and the Todd and such to make sure that everything's good and that we track that stuff completely in the future, so.
Well, they have reviewed it
They've reviewed it, but everyone I've seen has been lacking in something.
and we
And
continue
I want
to
to
work
keep
on
poking
that.
at that to make it better.
Yep.
And not seeing it, it's hard to
Yep.
make a comment, so.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Ron. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Nicole. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is public input and ideas. Limit 5 minutes per speaker. I will ask anyone who wishes to speak to make sure that the microphone is turned on at the center podium. And when you approach the podium, make sure that you state your name and your address before you begin speaking. You'll be given 5 minutes.
I did put a sign-up sheet for this.
Perfect.
My name is Pete Piter. I live at 508 River Street. I apologize, but with the oxygen of the air being what it is with my oxygen, I've actually recorded my comments. If that's permissible, I'm going to play that, please. Is that all right?
Sure.
I feel I'm getting the runaround. I spoke to Ron about the Bluffs project. He spoke to Devin, suggested I write questions and schedule a meeting. Devin stated he was too busy with other projects and told me to reach out to the members. So I hope everyone read my 5/28 email. Brett Lutz's response to this email was the Bluffs project is finished business and no further action or review will take place and may be ignored. On to new unfinished business. As it stands today, the board is finally requiring Don to secure the neglected site, something that should have been done years ago, as the lawsuit did not preclude this activity. Will the building inspector and village enforce the code and law before knowingly violating it? Will there be a third legal action to stop the development in progress? The village is yet to require Don to prove compliance, and their plan will violate the code and law, specifically ensuring there is factual evidence that the structure will not be visible upstream, downstream, or from the center of the river per NR 118. While the lawsuit was won by the plaintiffs in district court, it was overturned on appeal solely based on a new law that went into effect in the middle of all of this, related to the plaintiffs having standing to bring a suit. The appeal was not one based on the merits of the suit, so neither the appeals court or the Wisconsin Supreme Court had an opportunity to weigh in on the merits, the facts of the district court lawsuit. They only looked at the plaintiff's standing, nothing else, period. The district court judge legally defined the statute and code provisions. NR 11809 requires photos taken slightly up and downstream of the property and directly offshore. Sight lines shown directly offshore alone were insufficient. The code states difficult to see or not readily noticeable, and the natural and scenic qualities of the lower St. Croix River are protected. 719 NPS, the building will be visible above the tree canopy. The roof line is in stark contrast to organic shapes, lines, and colors of the treetops. 817, the DNR stated the balloon approach indicates the building will be quite visible. In conclusion, the only evidence used by the village board as their proof of inconspicuousness was the drone footage. The district court stated footage was 6 to 13 feet lower than the average height. Therefore, anything above 26.6 would be visible above the tree canopy. Visual representation of drone footage clearly shows open views of the river both upstream and downstream. Why did the village board not include this information in their decision? According to the district court, the pictures of sightline and drone tests did not provide evidence that the building would be inconspicuous. Following approval of the plans, a balloon test was legally performed with a PC member. The email thread provided you indicates the DNR was not totally satisfied. I ask again, why has the village not conducted their own test to validate the building will be inconspicuous from the center of the river, upstream and downstream of the river per NR 118? And why the village allowed the developer to dictate how NR 118 is to be complied with.
I did want to add that basically what was provided in that email was comments from the administrator. The developer showed cross sections of the building with existing tree cover would not be visible from the middle of the river. At the village board meeting, they used drone footage to show the actual tree canopy height, which exceeded their cross section estimate from the BC meeting. The cross section on both events showed that the building would be covered by tree canopy. Also, the standard is visually inconspicuous.
30 seconds.
Which the colors they chose are earth tone designed to be stealth design. The board feels they have met the standard and improved the cover for the height. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are we working off a list, Gary, or
Did you
Okay.
sign in?
Okay. anybody else wish to speak?
Hi, Holly.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Helen.
Holly Walsh. I live at 405 Ridge Road. And I'm here to just share my concerns about the consideration of having parking meters downtown. I am opposed to that, and I think many residents here are opposed to that. I think it'll be unwelcoming. I think it'll be hard on our businesses. And I think the harm that it will do won't be enough benefit in terms of revenue. So I'm suggesting, please don't do that. And I'm just going to share a personal example of when I go to Hudson or Stillwater, which I go to frequently, I despise the meters. And I will avoid going there, avoid going to restaurants, avoid going to stores because of the meters. And I shop at the Co-op downtown in Stillwater all the time. And sometimes people, they have designated parking spots just for co-op patrons. And oftentimes people park there because it's free. And then there's no place to park for the people that are going to shop at the co-op. And it's infuriating because I can't find a parking spot to go and buy groceries. And I have to walk far with my groceries to, if I'm lucky to find a parking spot. So it's incredibly inconvenient. And I think it's really going to harm our downtown because I zip downtown, run to the post office. I zip into, Ace Hardware has and Dick's have their own parking lot, but people are going to park there. Right. And now those parking lots are going to be full. I go to the dry cleaners. I go, into some of the stores. And so it's going to make it really difficult. Right. And I won't stop. And other people won't stop. So please reconsider that idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you?
Yes, my name is Eric. Hi. All right. Hello, my name is Eric Kranz. I live on 403 8th Avenue. I own Osceola Lanes, downtown Osceola. I'm a lifelong resident of this town, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you because what's being proposed with the parking will directly and significantly hurt my business, along with many of the businesses of the people behind me here today. At our bowling alley, we host kids' birthdays, family outings, local fundraisers, and countless other social gatherings. We have an outdoor patio that is a destination for football games and football fans. We are a community hub for many of the locals, and the majority of my customers stay for 2+ hours, whether it be for football games or leagues or anything like that. I really want to stress how time parking would directly impact my business. Some of my most loyal customers are senior league bowlers. They come, I have it every Wednesday and Friday. For many of them, it's their social connection, their exercise, and the part of their routines. They start at 9:30 a.m. every Wednesday and Friday. They're knocking down my doors at 9 o'clock to get in. So that tells me that they're there before 9 o'clock. They typically get done bowling around noon, and about half of them stay for lunch until about 1 o'clock. That's 4 hours. If parking meters are installed downtown, especially if they require apps or smartphones, many of these seniors simply won't know how to navigate them. They don't know how to download an app, scan QR codes. Many of them don't even have smartphones. I'm telling you plainly, if meters go in, I'm going to lose this core part of my business because it's hard to get people in the bowling alley from 9 till 1 o'clock, and I get them twice a week throughout the winter. They have other options of where to bring their business. Most of those 2 leagues that I got were from Bunkie, so most of them are Lindstrom, Minnesota people. So I'm already going to be struggling to keep them when that bridge goes in. And I know that when they came to us, they were looking at the Wyoming bowling alley and McKenzie Lanes. And luckily, they decided to choose us, and they came here. But with paid parking, the bridge, we're giving them too much incentive to leave. And honestly, that's about a $15,000 hit to my bottom line right off the bat. And that's just one example. I run a bowling tournament February through April that shifts at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. every Saturday, February, March, April. A lot of them come for breakfast at 9 a.m. The tournament takes about 3.5 hours. So that means that they're there at 9, they're there till 1:30. So that's 4.5 hours. During a bowling tournament, if I'm asking people in the middle of winter to go out to their car and move their car and come back in, it's a done deal. They're not going to come back the next year. That brings 1,000 unique visitors to town every year. We have 770 bowlers. They all bring family members. They come from all over Minnesota, all over Wisconsin to bowl in this tournament. So you're making my life extremely difficult there if this parking goes through. I have a coffee group that comes in every day at 3:30. It's between 3 to 6 guys. They pay $2 for coffee. They sit down. They play cards. They talk with each other. If we charge them $1 an hour to park, that's $2 if they're there for an hour and a half. So they're paying $2 for coffee and $2 for parking. That's 100% tax on my customers just to come down and park. I built my patio business around football games. Packer Viking games are my biggest day of the year every year. The proposal that I read had metered parking every day of the week. If on a Packers Viking Sunday, I have people there at 9 a.m. to get spots in the patio. So they're going to have to move their car at 10:45, 12:45, 1:45, whatever. And they're not going to move their car 4 times. I'm sorry. I'm going to lose my biggest day of the year because of this, because they might move their car once. I understand the goal behind the meter is revenue, parking turnover, but I'm asking you to look at the bigger picture. If you make it harder or more frustrating to come downtown, people will stop coming. They'll drive to places where parking is free and easy. They'll come, they'll park, they'll go to the falls. They'll only have 45 minutes left once they get up from the falls. Not enough time to eat, not enough time to shop, not enough time to get ice cream. Let's go to Dairy Queen in Somerset, get ice cream down there. They're going to leave our town as soon as they can. And once they leave, it's going to be incredibly hard to get them back. I'm doing everything I can to bring people to this town. As you can see, I'm trying to invest in upgrades. I'm adding on to my back patio. I'm trying to promote events, and I'm building a place where people want to return to. But if the city adds layers of complications and costs between us and our customers, we're all going to lose. Businesses, residents, and the community spirit that makes this downtown special. Please don't make our lives as business owners more stressful and more difficult. Don't push our customers out of town. Please find a way to help us and help us make Osceola great. It's really frustrating when I get a sense that we're not being helped out or being overlooked. I know we have problems, but putting more on downtown. I mean, we're a whole village here, not just downtown. So why does downtown have to take the brunt of this? I urge you, please don't make a decision that chips away at what makes Osceola great. Keep downtown open, accessible, and inviting to everyone, especially our longtime residents who built this town and deserve to continue enjoying it without barriers. And also, please don't ignore the 1,200 locals and tourists that signed the petition that was just started yesterday. If you go through many of the Facebook posts, people are against this parking. So all I urge you is to look at the petition, look at the posts that people made, and make your own decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have to sign this?
Yeah.
I need. My name is Wenright, and I live at 1964 50th Avenue, Osceola. I'm the owner of the Looking Glass downtown here. I do not have a big speech like Eric had, but all of his words I completely agree with. I'm here to talk about the parking meters, and I'm completely against it. I'm concerned for my 25 vendors that I have that come to my store weekly, some of them daily, to bring in new merchandise. They will have to park either on the main street or they park in the back parking lot. And some of the proposals that I had read said that we are going to start with the parking lots to have them metered. And so my vendors come in and it doesn't take them 15 minutes to bring their merchandise in and then load up their booths, right? Some of them are there for the whole entire day. I don't know if there's going to be a timed area. I have a couple, vendors that come in the evening and then they'll work until, 10 o'clock at night, right? So they're maybe there for 5 hours, like switching out their booths. I'm concerned for my mom, who is elderly, who doesn't have a smartphone, has no idea how to use an app, will not be able to park. I'm not sure if there's going to be vouchers that are going to be handed out, right? My children come and work for me. I have numerous customers who have signed that petition and have all said that they will not come to our town if they're forced to pay. We have many, many people who come in and get ice cream. I'm a business that is open 7 days a week downtown. I'm here every single day, and I worked here every single day for the last 10 years. I have worked almost 7 days a week. Right? I love this town, and I love this community, and I just am completely against this. Or just support, right? We just want to feel like our downtown is huge. It's a huge draw. Our stores are incredible. The people who run these businesses give to this community. We cannot tax our customers who are coming in here for parking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Wyatt Yeager. I live at 107 Prairie Grass Drive here in Osceola. And I just want to begin by saying I acknowledge and I understand the village is constantly exploring ways to improve its financial situation. And exploring paid parking as a possible solution may make sense on paper. However, I'd like to offer some perspectives and questions that I hope you'll consider before moving forward with this project. Firstly is the anticipated disruption of the Highway 243 bridge replacement. In approximately 2 years, the Highway 243 bridge is scheduled to be replaced. This project will bring disruption to not only downtown, but our entire community. for potentially 2 full years. Even though it's ultimately a positive infrastructure investment, the short-term impact on businesses and visitors alike may be significant. Stacking the paid parking rollout on top of that disruption could be catastrophic for our local economy. I'd encourage us to look at other communities. For example, Caldwell, Idaho, a population of 4,000 individuals just last year introduced paid parking after over a year of discussion at the administration level. But the results were alarming within the first 3 months. Many local businesses reported reduced traffic. One business in particular reported a $25,000 revenue loss directly tied to paid parking. Here in Osceola, a loss like that could mean the difference between staying open and closing permanently. Key questions I would ask you to consider. Do we currently have a parking turnover problem downtown? If not, then what's the primary reason for exploring this pursued paid parking project? What's the reinvestment strategy? If revenue is generated from paid parking, where will it go? What will it be used for? Could it be earmarked for downtown specific projects or other improvements for business support? And also, how would implementation be phased or tested? Is it a seasonal pilot program, small scale rollout? The other thing is the St. Croix Valley is just not one size fits all. I've heard comparisons made to Stillwater, Minnesota, and Hudson, Wisconsin, communities with paid parking systems. But they have different municipal structures, tourism volumes, and population sizes. Their approach might work for them, but that doesn't mean it's right for us. We need a solution that reflects our unique community identity and our unique economic ecosystem. The village is always looking for ways to improve revenue or have other financial improvements. Maybe it would be time to go out of the box. One concept that I've seen in other tourism-driven towns is a pay-what-you-can, donation-based parking lot. With signage that encourage visitors to voluntarily contribute money, you could have collection boxes, QR codes, kiosks, multiple ways to collect those funds. And those funds could be earmarked for projects that people care about. Cascade Falls, park upkeep, beautification, community events, you name it. A softer approach preserves the goodwill and offers a way to generate revenue without risking damage to our local businesses during a sensitive time. I truly believe we all want what's best for Osceola. But let's just make sure we're asking the right questions, learning from similar towns, and planning for the long-term health of our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't work. Evening, Aaron Rother, 406 Delmar Avenue. I want to echo everything that everybody else said about parking meters. As somebody that works for a downtown business, it'll be very disruptive. Also, just note the fact that people's internet connectivity, if this is going to be an electronic internet-based system, there's going to be connectivity issues, let alone, different aspects of usage with elderly or older demographics. And then just the fact, I'm not sure what company that you're considering, but a lot of these companies, it's not like the city is going to get all of the revenue. They keep it for the equipment, for maintenance on the equipment, and for enforcement on the rules. So not all the money is going to stay in Osceola. And then I'll go on a quick tangent to bring up that I'd appreciate if we continue the conversation about sex offenders and their placement in town, that we keep that conversation going, and their placement in living quarters near kid zones. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name's Pete Frieden, 1221 Corey Courts. Long-time listener, first-time caller. First, I just wanted to thank the men and women of the board for some recent projects that have been announced or been brought about, including a new public park up in my neck of the woods. I understand that that money has to come from somewhere. I can think everybody in this room would reflect my sentiment that we already pay a lot of taxes. I don't know the specific finances of the village, but I am putting trust that those are being adequately dealt with. Our tax money is being spent appropriately. That being said, I'd much rather see our tax revenue being used for these projects than for parking downtown. I was recently made aware, and I'm sorry to speak to rumor, this is just a rumor, that a private company would be responsible for issuing these citations, these parking tickets, and gathering this revenue. The city of Hudson employs a city employee to go around to issue citations, gather revenue. I will not be paying my money to a private company. I don't recognize their authority to issue a parking ticket. By statute, this needs to be an authorized entity or an authorized authority. I can't recall the exact terminology. But unless the village is going to hire a city employee to go out and issue these tickets, I'm not going to pay a private company a citation. I refuse to do it. I don't believe a private company by statute has the authority to revoke my vehicle's registration for refusing to pay a parking ticket. And the men and women in the Osceola Police Department have enough responsibilities already to worry about going out and gathering revenue from these parking meters. I'm aware that just recently the Osceola Police Department spent a lot of investigative resources into a successful search warrant where some stolen property was recovered. That's what I want the men and women of the Osceola Police Department to be doing. I do not want them to have the image and the negative association of being revenue collecting agents for the village. Law enforcement in this country right now especially has a negative enough public image. We don't need people being upset at our local police officers for going around and issuing parking tickets, collecting revenue. It's just, I don't believe that's what the village needs. And if we're going to have a private company, again, this is just a rumor I've heard. I don't know if this is fact or not, so I apologize for speaking a rumor. We need to have a salary to have another employee of the village go around and take on this responsibility. I don't think that the Osceola Police Department has the time, the energy, or the resources to do that right now. On another note, that old hospital downtown, I don't care if I can see space. I don't care if I can see a little bit of that building from the middle of the river. Please get rid of it. I'm tired of looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, I am Trish Thompson. I live at 107 Cottage Drive, Osceola, and I own Studio A Salon down on First Avenue. My concern for the parking meters has to do with the services we offer. Many of them exceed 2 hours time. And years ago, I did work in Hudson, and the issue of we would have to run out and plug our clients' meters while they were getting their colors processed and whatnot. So I am strongly against it as well. So just wanted to let my opinion be known. And I agree with everything everybody else has said here as well. So I don't need to drag on, but that's my point. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, seeing no one else, we'll move on to the next item of our agenda, which is reports. So first off, 6A1 utilities.
Yeah, Rick can't be here tonight. His report is fairly boring. I don't have much update on his report tonight. Any questions I can answer for you, please ask away. You had made a comment about in our email about the meters going in.
Yeah.
How is that going to get implemented?
There should be a thing going out, and they'll set out times with residents in the community.
So just like scheduling type thing to get in?
Yep.
'Cause I'm guessing some meters are in the house, some are out.
Almost
Probably not. Yeah, they're all
almost
being
are
in-house.
entirely inside, yes. So they will be a company will be setting up a time for meter install with people in the community, yes.
Do we know who that company is?
I do not know the company off the top of my head. We were told there was a good company and a bad company. We hired the good company.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna guess you're gonna get plenty of calls going, who's this person that wants to get in my house to put a meter in?
Yep.
Well, there's a letter going out
Yep.
to all the residents that have to replace it, and the resident schedules the meeting with the company.
Sure.
I think it's the report. I think that's what.
That sounds right. I can't remember the top of my head the company's name.
His report
Yeah,
says
it's what it's on the memo.
we've compiled an address list from HydroCorp to commence the meter change.
Right.
And it will be on the website.
Devin, one of the bullet point items on that utility report, the last one, I think it is, where it references AT&T upgrading equipment. Do you have additional details to share about that?
The AT&T one, they were just, that one is nothing new. We already have good service with AT&T. The Verizon one's the one that the lease is almost complete. That will go before the board in July.
Yeah, it's one of the things I was wondering about was whether or not 5G service would maybe be rolled out with those upgrades with AT&T. I think they probably will.
It was working on a new lease. It's what that was.
Got
with
it.
AT&T. The Verizon lease is near completion and will be before the board in July for the tower over there at Oki Park.
Is that the last item on the list? I can't see it. Scroll a bit, please.
No, I've been handling the Verizon one. He handled the AT&T one.
Okay.
Do we have any update on the new water line going down? There's
Eric's
if
there.
I guess the only update is that we will be submitting to the DNR to seek the safe drinking water program again, as we did before, and that's be in end of June. We are including an alternate for directional drill for the length of it. And we'll get that stuff in, and then we'll kind of fine tune plans and plan to bid sometime in the fall.
fall for a spring construction or something?
Yeah.
Well, around the Bat Cave.
Right, May 15th, 15th. It's the window.
Perfect. Thanks.
Anyone else have any questions for Devin on the utilities report? Okay, next up, 6A2 library.
Good evening, everybody.
And
So in May, I began working on 2 grants. The first grant is due in July and would be used to start a Vox book collection. So Vox books are children's books, both picture and chapter books that have a built-in audio component that reads the book. These books have become very popular as they allow the child to read along with the audio, and they seem to be replacing audiobooks on CDs for this age group. Unfortunately, these books average about $48 each, making it difficult for us to purchase several to start a collection. The second grant would be due in the fall and is geared towards children during their first 1,000 days. And this grant proposal, we are looking at creating more storytime backpack kits, which have proven to be very popular with parents of children of this age range that might not be able to attend traditional story times at the library. In May, we circulated 3,294 items. We had 96 public computer uses. We had 1,560 ebook checkouts, and we had 17 new patrons. We added 184 new items to our shelves in May. Regular programs that the library hosted in May included Storytime, Lego Club, Chess Club, Tech Help, the WMPO, book discussion, and lunch with a librarian. I also took items to Millside and Evergreen Apartments and Christian Community Home for checkout. The library also hosted a viewing of the second in a series of 3 gardening webinars by Wisconsin gardening expert Melinda Myers. As far as facilities and staff, the terrace that is located on the east side of the building is a wonderful space. Unfortunately, it gets really hot in the summer by mid-morning, so it's almost unusable at that time. In previous years, we had a cantilevered umbrella that we would open to make a small part of the space usable, but wind and weather did not make this a long-term practical solution. So I've been working to find a more permanent and larger solution with 2 awnings that would be attached above the windows in the children's area of the library, in between 2 sets of light poles. I talked to several different companies that install awnings, met with 2 of them, and received a quote from 1 company. I have also brought forth and received approval for the proposed awning and its colors from the Heritage Preservation Committee. And I'm in the process of gathering information on installing outlets on 2 of the light poles specifically for the awnings so that we would not have to run long extension cords to the existing wall outlets. In terms of our staff, Michelle Jacobs has been very busy preparing for and promoting the 2025 Summer Learning Program, which got started this last weekend. So we had probably over 100 people in this room for Sustainable Safari. They were lucky enough to see a baby kangaroo and pet it. And just so you know, kangaroos are very soft. It would be kind of scratchy. It's very soft. So we have lots of upcoming events. I invite you to take a look at those. One addition that we have that just happened yesterday is on Monday afternoons, we will have Read to Breezy. And Breezy is a certified therapy dog. So we're very excited to add that to our collection of events. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, 6A3 Fire.
Hi, everyone. We had total of 13 runs this last month. 6 were in the village, 5 were in the town of Farmington. 1 was on the St. Croix River, it was a mutual aid with Washington County. 1 was a mutual aid with St. Croix County and Somerset. The run breakdown was 3 structure fires, 5 medical lift assists, 1 boater that was stranded in the river, 1 traffic crash, and 3 alarms. Our training for April was we did a tour of 1MC, which we really learned a lot about the building and the electrical and everything. And we did training on 970s in the stair chair. And we did vehicle extrication also. Training we did last night was our annual training at the airport. We do tender and pump operations down there. I have to do that once a year now for the FAA so that we can sign paperwork for them. And then hangar inspections are nearly complete. I just have a few follow-ups to do. So, any questions?
Kudos to the fire department on its first official rescue on the water.
Oh, that was our second.
Or a second,
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
had our
but
second.
it seemed like.
This one seemed way more dramatic though, so.
It was more dramatic. I mean,
That's true.
but, and it sounds like it went really well,
Yeah.
so.
That
Pretty
airboat
cool
really
stuff,
is-
yeah.
really is broad. It was really fun to go up the river and see the sand bottoms where we normally would be carrying our boat.
Yeah,
The river for a while, just go right on through.
right on through it and,
On the way back, we did have some fun. We literally pulled over and drove right up on top of a sandbar and parked, and then drove right back off again.
well, it's
Never
nice,
been able to do that. I
No.
never got out. So,
but it's nice. So you loaded those people up then and then, brought them.
we assisted with Scandia. Scandia just got there also, so.
Oh, okay.
He literally scooped the water out of his capsized boat on shore and
Oh, they got it right.
used a trolling motor to get it back up to William
Oh.
O'Brien. So,
Huh.
yeah, he kind of took care of himself. We're
Yeah.
good to go.
Wow,
But it was kind of fun to go.
it worked.
It's
though.
kind of fun to go to the scene and be going back and then meet the DNR and wave at them.
Right,
And they were just on their way
yeah.
to the scene.
Slow at the draw.
Usually they're past us and gone.
Yeah, but thank God for that boat. That's a nice airboat.
What do you have? Is there somebody around here that does maintenance on it? Like I'm guessing that isn't a standard Briggs and Stratton that turns that.
No, that's
That motor?
that's a big Corvette motor.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably something different.
Yeah.
Is there somebody around here that you can run through annual maintenance, or how do you take care of that?
We will be doing it ourselves with the help of them. So they literally will provide us the information that we need to do our maintenance on it yearly.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, next up, 6A4 Police.
How's it going?
Hey, AJ.
How are you?
Not bad. All right, I guess we'll start off. May of 2025, we generated 403 calls for service and compiled 104 incident and traffic crash reports. Our officers made 2 arrests, 2 criminal referrals, and 1 emergency detention. We initiated 50 traffic stops and issued 45 municipal citations, and our police administrative assistant processed 35 requests for records and background checks. Some of the types of incidents which our officers responded to included death investigation, which required significant investigation efforts, 2 separate burglaries involving industrial buildings, a theft of an automobile, which was subsequently recovered, 2 traffic stops, which resulted in operating while intoxicated charges. Our officers also interrupted 8 trespassers at the old OMC building throughout all of May, all of whom were identified and cited. So, and just another touch on May, we did have the juvenile versus vehicle traffic crash. Last update I got was that she's doing really well out of the hospital. Just forgot to note that because I touched on it last week or last month, but update looks good. So. Otherwise, we investigated an identity theft complaint involving a village resident where their financial card information had been stolen. We went through the investigative process, obtained the search warrant through a third-party company, and were able to link that to a local individual. And we forwarded charges of identity theft for that. Otherwise, we also received another graffiti incident in the downtown area. Thanks to our local business owners who were really cool working with us and getting this video. We were able to identify the juvenile suspect in that, and we're able to follow up appropriately.
Perfect.
Flock Network also played a critical role in linking a vehicle to that person. We responded to a mental health call where a subject was involuntarily committed under Chapter 51. And we touched on this before, but Wisconsin's process still is not very efficient.
Winnebago, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on it because this particular incident spanned 3 different shifts, took over 24 hours of our officers' time in processing. So luckily we were able to get that person some help and do that, do the follow-up appropriately and make sure that they were transported. But just thought it was of note because of the amount of time it takes. Administratively, we were awarded 2 cases of Narcan through a grant through the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. They have a law enforcement direct program, which is a harm reduction program where they essentially set up first responders with Narcan. That way, in case we ever called to an overdose event, we have that medication handy and are able to essentially save lives, which we have done in the past with it. So, otherwise, as far as personnel, I'm happy to announce that I've selected Officer Matt Tremblay for our school resource officer position. Matt has exceptional interpersonal skills and creativity. I think he'd be a great fit, and we'll be spending this summer trying to get him enrolled in some specialized courses for field training, or for school resource officer, and then hopefully we'll get him deployed come school year. So as far as our officers in training, Dalton Dodge has just begun his full-time academy training. Reports that it's been going well, very in depth. I think he's a big note taker, so kudos to him. And McCade Miller continues his at the part-time academy and recently earned Top Shot with rifle. So, yeah. Any questions?
I got a couple. So you said it looks like you're at 8 trespassing situations. Are we finding the building owner for nuisance property here?
So what we're doing, the 8 could just be several groups together. We cited 8 individuals. And at this
So those are 8 separate calls though?
No, not necessarily separate calls. A lot of times we deal with people at the old OMC. It's groups of people. So,
So it could have been 8 at once, or 4 and 4, or 6 and
Sure.
2, or something?
Yep.
Okay.
I know with the summer, we're looking at doing kind of a public announcement on Facebook, just letting people know, because we got the kids out of school now to, keep away, that they will be cited if they're trespassing and showing that boundaries. That's something that we are considering. Otherwise, recently, I think I've personally dealt with a group of 6. I know Officer Rebin recently dealt with a group of 7. So
I'll be poignant with my question. Have we fined the building owner for a nuisance property?
No, not at this time.
Why-
At this point,
why not?
we're waiting for the construction fence to go up.
Yeah, I feel like that's an incorrect answer, but
Well, the correct answer is that it's been a nuisance property for 10 years and we haven't done anything.
we need to start.
So, we talked about this last month about sending.
We're
out a
actually on about-
registered letter.
Before we get too far in the weeds here, I'd like to know if anybody else has any further questions for AJ's report, because I don't think
Right.
that it would be appropriate to have
Is
this
the
discussion
graffiti,
now.
so the graffiti thing, was that tied to the bridge graffiti?
The bridge graffiti from earlier this spring.
Yeah.
The train bridge.
Yeah.
No.
I have a few questions about your Narcan grant. So how many come in a case?
Good question. So essentially, we believe it comes with 12 kits. Each kit comes with 2 doses. So roughly 24 doses per case, and we were awarded 2 cases.
Okay.
So a little less than 50 total doses.
And then do you know how long that lasts?
I think this most recent batch is good for a couple years. We usually apply for this grant every year to make sure we're cycling through to make sure we don't have any expired Narcan. So this particular batch is good for a couple years, and next year we'll apply for another couple cases and see what we get. That way we always have some on hand.
Do you know how many approximately you go through a year?
I guess off the top of my head, it's not overly common that we respond to overdose events. I know last year, one of our officers was mutual aided north of Dresser, where several parties had actually overdosed. And a big issue that we run into is that oftentimes one dose will not be enough for one person. So if you have multiple people, each requiring multiple doses, you can go through it pretty quick. But just off the top of my head, I would say we deal with about 5 overdose events in the village a year.
So, you talked about that mental health thing and being over 3 shifts.
Yeah.
How's your overtime budget?
Our overtime budget is, as far as I know, it's fine. We're still well below our.
You budget so many hours and you just hope to work into that?
Yeah, for this year, I just went off of what we had last year, and we've been making do. The problem that I see administratively is a lot of times our officers don't want to work overtime. So unless it's a critical type event, we're calling them in for something like a chapter where we need to transport someone. They typically elect to not fill shifts that are just open unless
Sure.
it's something where we need the.
Well, if somebody's gonna work
People
overtime, that
power.
seems like the thing to work.
Oh, yeah. No. But no,
To answer your
our
question, Mike,
overtime budgets.
After 5 months, we spent 28% of the police budget, so we're
doing okay on.
doing okay, yes.
Yeah, well, you're doing a really good job. I really appreciate the more, even though it's a lot to handle for the public to hear, but we're busy.
Yes.
And you guys have pushed the limits with being short-staffed, and I appreciate that. And just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
It's really good to see. You're gonna get a handle on this. I know you're gonna.
Nope. Just take some time.
Yeah, it just takes time, but I think you got it.
Thank you.
I was just gonna add that you kind of breezed over it in your report because that's what you do in reports, but I think Peter Frieden touched on it too. These cases can take a long time. Not just the emergency detention that took 24 hours, but the work and the hours that go into a search warrant, the investigation for the evidence, all that stuff takes a long time. So it's easy to mention in a report, but it's also very time consuming. So good job on that. And then one point on the Narcan too is with that grant is the officers get to carry them themselves too, in case they're accidentally exposed. So.
I read recently it's good for other things aside from just drugs too. I mean, I don't know how much it's actually used for that.
I think the police department is using them for drugs. But.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. For a dietary. No, almost like allergic type of reactions. It has other benefits.
Anaphylactic?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on it. I'm not a medical guy by any means, but it sounded like it was a good idea.
Not medical advice from the board.
It actually came from a medical person.
Oh,
that
okay,
had
well, there you go.
Maybe you did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
I did, yeah.
Arvid, do you
No.
anything for Ron?
Thank you. Great
AJ
work.
rather?
All right.
Thank you, AJ.
Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, 6A5, Public Works.
Yeah, you can listen to me for the next 3 reports. Todd currently could not make it tonight. He was short-staffed in May due to, Mike's farming in May too, so he takes his time off in May. There was
several high wind events in May that put big strain on the department in terms of getting rid of branches and limbs that happened in the park and on the street. So they were very active doing that. They've also found a lot of debris in our stormwater sewer systems too that are causing potential 7 basins to either be repaired or replaced in the community. So our stormwater system is in severe need of huge maintenance and huge fixing. Beyond that, we started the street project repaving this week or last week, and it goes until June 28th. Currently, they're working on 4th out here in the parking lot for the skate park. If you remind people who are trying to remember, the impact fees paid for the parking lot for the skate park. So the impact fees from the last paid for that. And the CIP is being used for the other parts of the project in the community. Also, our Cascade Falls staircase started last week too. They're 2 weeks in. That's going to be a relatively long process as they get Gristmill Park ready this summer. Once they pour the footings, there's a 12-week lead time from the stairs. So the stairs will be installed sometime late this fall for the complete project. We're trying to find as much way as we can to keep the stairs open. Once they did GPS, they did notice that there might be a slight overlap from the new stairs to the existing stairs. So Todd and I are working on a solution to keep the stairs open through these times too. So there is some work that needs to be done with that. They installed the new water line and they ordered a water fountain for Oki Park, and that should be installed this summer. So we're thanks to the Lions for that. Right, Ron? The Lions donated that.
Wow, good for them.
So it's nice to have a group working for that. Todd feels that the HVAC system should be operating all summer long. We switched back to the installer and train for the maintenance on this HVAC system. So hopefully that gets rid of some of the issues we've been experiencing the last 2 years. And finally, the 2 seasonal started on Monday. So we got seasonal going. They're helping watering plants, doing basic brush pickup. And then so far the mowing contract's going great. So we're excited to get ready and get the parks looking good for summer.
Yeah.
Any other questions on Todd's report?
For the stair construction, I noticed there's a bunch of equipment parked behind the old Dairy Queen. Is that part of the Dairy Queen's work or the stair work?
Part of it is ours.
Did we clear it with the property owner?
I know Todd and Joe Pembier from Pembier Construction have been in communications with multiple business owners involved in this project. And a lot of them are parking. They're also using some of our space in our public works yard and in the public works side of the fire hall too. So we're really trying to find areas, given limited space that we have on that site to make sure that they can have the appropriate, tractors.
I'm just asking to make sure we're friendly to the neighbor.
Try and be as friendly as we can this whole time. I know last week we had a meeting with business owners who attended to discuss the project too and how it might impact them, especially with the watershed. New building reports. We had 1 new home permit last month. Next month, I will provide a year-by-year halfway report to see where we've been on the past years for building permits. But so far, 5 new homes this year. We're anticipating a few more shortly.
Is Polaris doing something? I didn't see it on there, but somebody reached out to me and said that behind Polaris there was a lot of something going on.
They're cutting trees down.
Is it just tree removal or something?
They're doing 17 grand of tree removal.
It got somebody excited.
All right, administration.
I touched on the Gristmill and Cascade Falls project. Drew's here tonight for some color samples. That's what you're looking at tonight. We're passing around some color samples for the staircase. There's going to be a business meeting for the 243 bridge. Monday is at the 21st. Trying to remember off the top of my head the date. 23rd. Monday the 23rd at 5 o'clock in this room for business owners to ask any questions of MnDOT and WisDOT regarding the 243 bridge project and timeline. That's the time for business owners to have their questions answered, really, because once again, the village really has no say over this project. This is a state-led project from Wisconsin and Minnesota. So that's the time to ask them the questions that you might have for this.
Will they have the final timeline there too?
That should be lay out the timeline for everyone too.
All right, let's make sure that we get some decent PR going out for that meeting so that we can fill the room. That's an important one, because I know that to date, they've been pretty cagey about the actual timeline.
And
So,
keep in mind, I want to make sure that is for business owners only.
Right.
Not to defend MinDOT, but a lot of federal financing is affecting road projects right now. So I don't know that they would necessarily know what's going on either.
Right.
Currently working on 6 commercial and residential developments. We should have more information on a lot of them in the July meeting. We have a few of them for us tonight to talk about, but there are a lot of constructions that projects that are going to happen in the near future in Osceola. However, a lot of them are within the TID district, so the new home won't be, the new tax increase won't be as great as we would hope. But the development south of the airport is not in the TID district, so once that one goes, that would be new tax revenue for the village. We're continuing our audit. We had a meeting this week with our audit to see where we're headed on. They're looking to complete it sometime, hopefully in June or July. We looked at the preliminary audit and things are looking good so far on the audit. Any questions on the monthly report from admin?
Yeah, I have a question. You dodged the big topic right there,
Which one?
the paid parking.
Yeah, because we're talking about it.
separate agenda items
Isn't that,
tonight.
well, it's in this agenda though. It's part of your weekly update.
No, but I'm bringing it. We'll talk about that when we get to
Perfect. We'll
We
save
got
it
it
till
right
the
down
end.
here.
That's got its own agenda.
I
board.
get it, but it's here. And to Brad's point earlier, when he cut me off, let's follow the script apparently. right?
Yep, and I admitted it because it is its own talking point on the agenda.
Okay, then I'll save it for the end.
Any other questions for Devin? Okay, that takes care of staff reports. Moving to agenda item number 7, which is the public hearing portion of our meeting to accept written and or oral testimony regarding the site plan proposed for 2600 65th Avenue, Wisconsin per Village Code Section 21994. So this is for the hospital, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the public hearing and then it'll be you.
Does everybody know about it?
Noticed.
It was talked about and recommended for approval at the planning commission meeting.
The planning commission.
Yep, and then publicly noticed in the paper and posted. So. What other action do we do if there's no submitted oral or written testimony?
Close the public hearing.
We can close the public hearing. Get a motion to do this?
I would recommend a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll second that.
Van. Motion by Mike and the second by Van to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
So at the June public planning commission meeting, there was a site plan review for the OMC expansion, which is basically an extension from the existing hospital to the current gym site. The recommendation for it was to approve it, given the conditions written into village engineer's recommendations to approve it with his recommendations that he had listed. Tonight to present his project, Pat is here to talk through the plans and any questions that you might have for this project. Pat, what slide do you want me on?
Well, you can start with the site plan slide.
This one?
Keep going. One more. That one's good. Thank you. My name's Patrick Giordana. I'm with Synergy Architecture Studio, 33 South 6th Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's our office address. I'll let you know that I actually live in Hudson, so I like working on a project on this side of the river, so I appreciate you having us here tonight. As Devin mentioned, really we're looking at a building expansion that's going to link the current Osceola Medical Center with the Wild River Fitness Center. With that expansion, it does require some site work. It's not a significant amount of site, but we are impacting parking that's currently located between the two buildings. And to accommodate the additional parking we need because of that impact, we've rerouted the entrance drive slightly to the east and reworked the parking out in front of the fitness center. And then we've added additional parking to the far south end of the site, which is predominantly will be staff parking locations. The building itself is a 21,000 square foot single story building. If you want to go to maybe the exterior rendering at the end of the presentation. As I mentioned, single story, all first class materials, brick, stone, glass, and metal panels.
You're thorough.
And you can kind of see the overall image of the expansion in the upper left-hand corner there, rendering. The expansion is really of the clinical component of the facility. We're not expanding the hospital portion, but we work closely with city staff, fire and water, the consulting engineer, and also the Wisconsin Department of Health, as they're the reviewing entity for this particular use, to make sure that we, on that site plan, that we had good access, we had good circulation for the fire trucks, good location for our fire connections and our new fire hydrant locations. But as you can see, what our expansion is doing is adding to the front entry, where we're introducing a new drop-off canopy that's covered so that both patient and driver for patient, if they have to get out of the car and help their family member into the building, is covered, protected from the weather. And the area between that you see kind of in the dark stone area is really the clinic expansion. It's predominantly specialty clinics. So we're adding additional services for the community. And then the far end where you see the second kind of focal point with the tall glass windows is an expanded rehabilitation area for the clinic. And with that, I'll open up the floor for any questions you may have. And I want to thank all these members who have come out to support our project.
I bet you they're all here for that. Just the same two comments from before. Osceola spelled wrong.
Yeah, well, we haven't changed it.
I can't take credit for that.
It's the same plan, yes.
That and someday I'd like to see a lighting ordinance for town. So otherwise, this looks great.
And the drainage plan was looked over by Eric and everything was.
Yeah, you had some drainage issues or something, nuances.
There were some, I'd say, more clarifications that I was looking for, and Pat's group got back to me, and that's all cleared up. So the only thing I would have still is the combination of the lots.
Right, and we're in the process of doing that now.
Yeah, and make sure that the sign you put out front spells Osceola correctly as well.
That one's right.
That was right.
It is right.
Another thing, because I'll tell you originally.
The artist got that one right.
I caught that one.
To credit to one of the other planning commission members, I think there was a lot of other nuances in here in reference to other entities and cities and things like that. And
yeah, the preliminary plat had the wrong authority on it. And
yeah. I'm guessing if it comes back around, he will beat you up again.
Okay.
I can see him smiling from here.
Yeah, so tonight we're looking for recommendation of approval of the site plan.
I'll make the motion. We approve the site plan.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Nicole. We have a motion by Mike and a second by Nicole to approve this final site plan review. I'm going to take a roll call vote on this. Neil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Myself is an aye.
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 All right, the ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck on the expansion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Hopefully we'll be great baking ground before the end of summer, so.
Perfect.
Good.
Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 8, other business, discussion and possible action regarding 8A, public parking fees.
Yeah, Mike, I was not dodging it. I knew I had to talk about it in a few minutes. I want to thank the public for coming out tonight and speaking very eloquently and being very thorough with their comments. This is a proposal or an idea of, as everyone said, we're trying to make Osceola a better community and finding ways to help the village flourish as we can. The proposal that we're looking at would be
something done in phases, working with MPS, who's here tonight to do a little presentation on it. I did notice one little error in my memo. I meant to exclude Sundays. Our current parking ordinance is 2 hours, Monday through Saturday. Sunday is not included in the 2-hour parking sign. So that was an error that I will admit that I did not catch. And Eric brought it to my attention kind of on Friday when he mentioned that to me in my office. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to MPS to kind of lay out what they're looking at doing within Osceola, and then they can answer any questions that you might have going forward.
I'm Docs with Docs Dixon with MPS, 225 County Court Exchange North, St. Paul, or South St. Paul, Minnesota. Thanks, President, trustees, for having us here. Not here to promote whether you do parking. We're here to tell you what we can do if you choose to do parking. Before I jump into the presentation, or if he gets it up, I might have to free verse this, but we have over 47 patents, and we've designed a system or platform that you guys pick the rules. I mean, I heard a lot from people about, I don't want it to include this and that. Every town is unique. Every town needs to make the decisions. We're not here to, like Hudson, they've got a system that comes in a box. You either like it or you don't. It is what it is. Costs what it costs and charges what it charges. So what I want to do is just take a few minutes and run through this proposal and kind of show how we do things differently. We leave rulemaking times, fees, everything up to you. And once you give us what you want, if you were to design a little magic guy that could run around and handle your parking, then we implement that for you. We're not here to tell you how to do anything. This is Dave Wickheiser. He's the heavy. So we can just go to the next one. Over you. So MPS was created in 2013. We've gone into several municipalities. I kind of feel like I have to talk to both groups because there was a lot of participation. Started in municipal parking, street parking. Then we took the technology that we have.
I will ask though, if you could stay closer to the mic because we do have viewers on YouTube that won't be able to hear you otherwise.
Gotcha. I can do that. So where we started was with municipal parking services with cities. We've taken that fixed camera. So with other companies, we have a patent that we use a fixed camera to read a license plate. And we're protecting that patent. There are, of course, companies who are trying to knock it off. But with that and the AI technology, instead of having meters like in the old Cool Hand Loop movie where you plug quarters in it, I guess you cut those off. Or, the complicated boxes. It's everything from a QR code to a kiosk, pretty much however you want it done. We can accommodate. The main reason to do something like this is to improve parking compliance, whatever you want. So it doesn't have to be a citywide, but if there's areas that are hot buttons, we can focus on those. If there's permitted parking, you no longer have to have the sticker and all that stuff. It's all, and it doesn't, one thing I heard about was the police. It doesn't take police to go on and chalk tires and things of that nature. It's used the license plate recognition technology. Everything from the payment, auto pay, so community members and whatnot, the city could decide to do permit parking for people who live here. People can go onto the app and just auto pay that if they pull into a spot, it automatically pays. And if they have to stay in that salon for 3 hours instead of 2 hours, nobody has to run on and put quarters. They can just take an auto pay feature then until they pull out of that space. It keeps on feeding, so there's no infractions. And it lowers the rate of parking compliance. It takes the weight off of law enforcement to have to go out there and have somebody put the ticket on the front of the car. We don't have to actually issue the tickets and mail the tickets. That's something the city can do, but it would be done through the city and the choice of the city, or we can handle that as well. That's up to your residents and yourself. And a lot of times people don't go in because of the capital limitations. You know, with our new software, it's solar based, so it's not tearing up the street. It's not running power. You know, it's 4 volts and we're in. Flip the switch and we're going. If you want to go to the next one. So, you know, again, if you guys are looking at parking in, there's probably a need for revenue for the city. And again, we do this at a reduced cost. We crush the enforcement. And for your law enforcement and safety, one of the things we're going to talk about is our safety stick. We're the only ones that have it. It's helped solve arson. It helps solve a murder. I mean, it's really cool technology. It really helps your law enforcement and your firefighters.
With regards to that, one of our strategic partners is Flock, and so we would integrate our system with theirs. Flock will identify the a vehicle coming into town. Our parking solution would be integrated with that system, and it would be able to identify exactly where that person parked, assuming that they parked, in town somewhere.
Gotcha. So if you want to go to the next one. You know that the meters, if people want to use their card, if people want to use coins, if people want to use their phone. Because there is, I'm working with the church in St. Paul. The pastor there, she's awesome. She's like, Doc, you can come in and explain this to all the old ladies. And, we want to be part of it. We don't want to just drop it in here and leave. If there's education, if there's customer service, if you want to change it, like we don't want to bring all this stuff in here and then you don't like it to leave. We'd rather work with you to grow. And if you roll to the next part, that's the safety stick that we were talking about. If you were to really do a phase thing, I would start with the safety sticks in front of crosswalks, in front of fire hydrants, where people, especially in the busy tourist season, when people can't find a parking spot and they block those fire hydrants and they block those crosswalks. This is something that can help handle that and make this product, if anything, safety stick. It's about safety. It's about working with law enforcement, police. And later on in the presentation, there's about 5 to 10 places in downtown that this could benefit from. You want to go to the next one? We do want to do a phased approach. Whenever you do something like this hard, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of, once you implement something, you may change as it goes. And we want to be there to react. We want to force the system in and just have it one certain way. We want to, we can tell you everything about it, but until you actually experience it, it's all just words. And so with our phased approach, talking to Devin, we want to start with the parking lots. Just a couple of key ones, the ones that you really think you need some management on. And initially just do a scan to pay and then roll in the cameras behind that. If you want to go to the next slide. And then the next piece that I think this could really be the first is going in and putting safety sticks next to fire hydrants and crosswalks. It's huge for the community. If there's anything we do that I never understand why anybody thinks about it, the safety stick only adds to safety. Now the final approach would be the street parking. About 25% of your parking is high district, high traffic, and that we would suggest initially doing with our new solar sticks. They're really similar to the safety stick, but they have all the meter technology on them. So that's a real easy turnkey, get in fast. It's not disruptive in the construction. Putting it in like a lot of our competitors, they've got to pull power, they've got to do a lot of things, and we're trying to find a way to just make it easier and softer for communities. If you want to go to the next one. Went through that pretty fast. I'm here more to answer questions. I'm really glad that you guys let us come, but I do want to let everybody know that we're not here to push our service. If you choose to do it, you know, I do believe, I know we've got technology nobody else does. I know that it has 47 global patents. And I believe we do it better, and we work with people to do what they want and not give you a, you know, circle, triangle, square, peg type operation.
If I could just chime in on that. One of the things that we've done with other small towns is that we have what's known as a white list. And that white list in one city is every police officer, every teacher, every retired teacher, every firefighter doesn't pay for parking. They put their license plate on, they zoom around town, and they're never charged for parking, and then they'll never receive any sort of violation. We can do that with almost any demographic that you can think of. We could do that with elderly people, 55 and over. I would love that, you know, help me out quite a bit. But this is really a convertible technology piece that takes out the enforcement issue with regards to our police. So if you have a parking issue in a city, we've done parking studies where putting a $5 bill under everybody's windshield wiper would be more cost effective for the city than what they're currently doing by enforcing it. It costs a lot of money to enforce parking. The whole idea in this isn't to be punitive. The idea in this is to increase the turnover, not unlike a restaurant. Restaurants, if people came into a restaurant and sat down at a table, never ordered anything, we're looking at turning over those spaces, not in a punitive way, but in a way that's going to enhance the economic development of the area. And that's what we're really dedicated to. We're not interested in creating a solution where you all get hate mail, and you know, and I do too. We're interested in developing a solution that increases the viability, the economic viability of the city, in addition to you know, just the safety aspects of it and all that. So
There's a short video here of a similar seasonal town that we've had a lot of success with. So if you guys just can watch this. They did that better than me.
Question? Are we on the question phase now?
Yes, please.
Is there a pro forma for this that shows financials?
we can dive into it. I know there was kind of what it might look like. Currently, we're looking at the phases would be the parking lot but behind the post office, the one in the liquor store that we just purchased, the one next to it's not Cascade anymore, but that bar there, and then the one by the church and Hiawatha Bank. Those would be the 5 parking lots you'd be looking at.
So we wouldn't, how about this municipal lot here at this building and then the new one over at the skate park?
Those are not looked at this time being paid lots. Those would be the free lots in the community.
To answer your question on that, we've done some performas today. We just wanted to come more informational, and the performas we did show a revenue of somewhere between, depending on wheels you pick, to the city, it'd be in the $300,000 to $400,000 range.
Based on how much per spot?
$1, I think it was $1.50 or $1 during the week and $2 on the weekend. And
So I attribute this a little bit to some, you've got to have an ROI or you're not going to do it. Okay?
Absolutely.
So let's say that you come in here and you're here for a year and we decided just it's PR's bad, optics are bad, so on and so forth. What's our backout cost when I leave my gym membership or my cell phone plan?
We have a month-to-month, no cost to the city. So we're looking at recouping the cost of installation. After that, after the cost of installation, it's basically a month-to-month. And if in 12 months you say get out of town, we'll pull our system out.
You said, is everything solar?
No.
Not everything. Like the kiosks, we don't have solar kiosks for that payment piece. The cameras that we use for parking lots, we'd need power for those.
So to put in a utility service and then run power to a bunch of pedestals, you're 50 grand bet?
Per camera?
Well, how many on a, let's just say between 2nd and 3rd Avenue
You're gonna have
downtown?
one pedestal per block, or one kiosk per block, and then the rest of it will be digital. So the actual meters themselves are solar based.
How do you monitor that spot that's at the end of the block that's away from the kiosk?
So each one of these solar sticks, we'd have one for every 2 spots, but that's solar, so we don't have to run power to it. The only thing we'd have to run power to on the streets is the actual kiosks to accept payment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've installed them, so I know what you're talking about. So that service to get that first kiosk is a metered utility service, right?
Correct.
So it's every bit of 15 grand?
Yeah.
And a bunch of sidewalk work.
Mm-hmm.
So your payoff is how long?
Without the performer actually here, because I have those, but usually, within anywhere from 3 to 9 months, we're paid back. It's not a long term. And I'll provide all this performance for all of you to review.
I look at all the other construction projects we've had in town here and I think about where you'd go to get a utility service for each block. And there's a lot of sidewalks. Not that I'd love you have you come in and fix our sidewalks because there's a few bumps in them. I look at that payoff being $15,000 times a dozen spots. How many hours of parking would you have to have? And then how much study did you do at 6 o'clock actually to Eric's point, at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday? What's the return on those spots downtown?
Honestly, we have an analyst that does it for me.
Sure. I'm asking softball questions because I'm 100% against this.
Right.
There's no part of this that.
I just want to ask, the concern in the room from our businesses is the impact on them. Do you have examples of communities our size where you've put this in and what it's done to the local businesses?
Well, we have several, and we could provide references with regards to that. Manchester by the Sea, I think, was the one that's probably most closely resembles
Osceola in that the seasonality of the visitors are probably more in the summer.
Excelsior.
Excelsior, I reached out to
would be a good
Excelsior.
example.
Yeah, Excelsior, Minnesota.
Same type of businesses, very.
We're exactly like Excelsior.
What?
Yeah, yeah, I said that for the humor effect.
But I mean, as far as the traffic,
Yeah, we're nothing like Excelsior.
um,
Actually, the other thing I wanted to do is apologize for everybody in the stands tonight that had to come out and voice their opinion against this.
With the technology, because we get a lot of motorcyclists that will park into two motorcycles in that parking spot, or three I've seen sometimes.
Yep.
How does your technology work for that?
We have to have capture and an audit trail of coming into the spot and leaving the spot. So let's just say you have two motorcycles or three in a particular parking spot and we capture one. That would be, then the other two, we don't have an audit trail for, and there would be no violation.
We have a hard time enforcing our current ordinances, and I know just because of the size of the town that the first call is not going to be to you guys, and it's going to be to Carrie and stuff. So it's, I mean, if this really got pushed forward, I'd push to put it around the building right here. I mean, I've seen the library very, very busy, and I remember reading in the library report that they were looking for funding to pay for some books. I say, let's put it around this building and we'll fund the books.
I also worry about customizable. You didn't say it, but it is really customizable, right?
The solution?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Customizable to me means more time, more money from we're putting in as well.
Well, it's really software based. So I mean, like we'll load in what the rules are. Let's just say, for instance, you wanted to take it off for Packer games, for that matter. I mean, addressing some of the issues, and we just turn the cameras off then, and it's all just built into the system.
So what's the cost on that then? Is
That's
just
included.
calling up and saying,
your personal rep and you call them up.
Yeah,
and you
there's
tell them
no
you-
additional cost.
They need at least 24 hours notice if you want to shut something down. We've started working with a lot of churches that have, funerals.
Unscheduled.
Unscheduled events. And we have to accommodate everything that they do. And churches uniquely were there before often bars in the downtown. So they have really key pieces in urban areas. And they're always looking to raise more money to serve their mission. And so far it's been a healthy, positive experience, with those sort of, change on the dime things.
Was I don't know the gentleman, but we got I believe all of us got a nice email from Dick's Grocery Store.
Yes.
I think that was a pretty well-written description. And I think Eric's sentiment was the same thing. And I would guess that I don't even know who owns the liquor store, and I'm sure if Billy was here, he'd comment on the hardware store, but I feel if we did this, it would just push it into private lots and we'd become still another bad neighbor.
One client we're working towards implementing in, not all of their lots, but in their higher traffic ones is Lund's Byerly's. Grocery stores amazingly know how long everybody stays and they've got their metrics down to a T. And what they found is people already abuse their lots and park in there when they're not shopping. And it's been something that similar businesses have wanted to participate in to keep the lot either available for their clients, their patrons, or monetize it because they have to pay taxes. I mean, taxes are going up, rates are going up, and vacancies are going up in commercial buildings. So you see a lot of private owners actually transitioning to paid parking as well, especially when the street goes to paid.
And can you tell me how the solar sticks communicate to the devices?
Cellular.
It's over cellular?
Yep.
Okay. Which network do you use?
I'd have to look into that a little bit more.
It's important for this community.
Or God help
AT&T
them.
and T-Mobile is probably your only option. Verizon won't work here.
It'd help
so-
you if you got Verizon.
Well, it could be really good here in a few months.
Oh, it might be.
By next April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the enforcement part of it work? You know, we had a comment earlier from someone.
Yeah.
You heard that, but
Yeah, so it is we are a private company, if that's the end of your question. I don't want to, sorry for interrupting, but we are a private company and we can issue tickets from us. We could also have that housed in the police department as well. And we can, and they can issue the tickets themselves. And there's an audit trail of, you know, camera capture in, camera capture out, and then identify whether or not that was a violation and to decide whether or not that's going to go forward to like a mailing ticket.
So to further answer the question or simplify it, we can do it. We can issue, you know, we can mail your ticket as a contracted third party, or you could staff a person in your office that's provided the in picture, the out picture, and the time, which is what they need to prove a violation.
Right, yeah. So what happens if you write a ticket to somebody and they don't pay? There's no DMV revocation, there's no suspension of license or anything like that, like if an officer wrote it.
You can contract a third party to issue your tickets. And usually people, they want somebody to review them. And that's where that in, out, the visual is, that you go through a trail and say, yes, it's a ticket. So if you want a municipal ticket, you could either issue them yourselves, or if you want to contract the mailing of that ultimately, you would go through the list, the visual pictures, and check the box, yes. You know, this was a work truck. This was a delivery to, you know, somebody's store, you know, that you have that lenience. And that would probably, I would imagine, would be handled through your police department as far as approving that. It wouldn't. But it takes the burden off of them going and putting the ticket out there.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I guess what I'm saying is, what's the enforcement tool? You write, you know, someone gets a $20 ticket or whatever it is, they don't pay it. What's the bite?
It can be a municipal ticket. I mean, if it is.
So you're saying your company or that company can issue the municipal ticket?
On your behalf.
On your behalf, yes, but as long as you approve them, yes.
Yeah, I think they would have to go through some sort of substantiation process with the village first. And then the actual work of delivering the ticket could either happen at the municipal level or through them as a third party company. But it would need to be, the records would need to be here. Because if we're going to enforce it through the legal system with our own
Yeah,
municipal court, we
Right.
need the records. So, yeah, so I would think that there would be some level of municipal involvement with that.
And some people put the burden on, some towns put the burden on us because they don't have the budget. And the budget is in place initially. So they put more burden on us. If they have that administrative person that can go through and do that in the police department, you know, puts their hand on it. But it's still, I mean, the most inefficient way is to send a cop up and down the streets, or a meter person up and down the streets, because they can only be in that one spot right now, and they can't be everywhere. You know, when it comes to enforcement, we're everywhere, and then we work with the city to send out the citations.
To Arvid's question, I'm not sure that we got to the end of it, but he had asked about business impact. I'm wondering, just to expand on your question, whether or not it would be possible for you to forward along some testimony from some of the other similarly sized municipalities, business owners in those municipalities. I want their experience after the project has been implemented. You know, if we could get something where it would be, here's where we were 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out, 3 years out. Love to hear something like that. If you could forward that to Devin and he could get it to the board, I would love to be able to read that information and get a real feeling for real experience and real testimony, because I feel like we're really stuck right now in a very, very large vortex of speculation and conjecture. And I just want to hear what's happening in other communities that are closely aligned to what we do here. And I know it's not going to be the same mix. I know it's not going to be the same demographic. It won't be this. There's a lot of differences. I get that, but at least we could get some hard data.
Yeah, and actually from a person that owns a business. I think that's a reasonable request. And one thing that I really want to stress, because we've seen cities that they get dollar signs in their eyes, and they get really aggressive and really they're already spending it. It's like going to the casino and thinking you're going to win. And you've already spent that Powerball ticket before they even have the drawing. Yeah, with this you have to start slow, and you have to implement things in very, like, if it's 15 minutes, maybe you have to do it longer initially to just work with people. Because the last thing we want to do is take the time and the capital investment and put it in there and just crush. There was one city that looked at it, that one fire meter, one safety stick, the violations in front of that safety stick would have generated over $40,000. And, they got a little, was it a year? Well, yeah. And, you don't want to hammer down on people like that. It's just not,
It doesn't do us any good either to have, if this isn't positive, we're not going to be here for long. Even if the board says yes. We want to create an environment where this is a long-term relationship that's beneficial to the business owners, in particular, the people coming, so it's not punitive. In a perfect world, there's a little bit of, there's some revenue generated from it. It helps turn cars over, and it's not, a dollar during the week is just not, for me personally, I'll speak for myself, it's not really an amount of money that I would really look at as being something preventing me from coming to a restaurant or whatnot.
Okay.
I agree with, I think, your point that I just don't think we have enough information to make a decision. And I know I'm not willing to vote for something over the objections of downtown businesses. I think that they form the heart of the community and bring people here. And we need to take the time to truly engage with them in this, because this is a monumental change that we're talking about. And I don't think that there's been enough front end conversation to talk about all the permutations of this. There's a lot of ways that this could look. And so the most I would be willing to do tonight is table it. If not, depending on what the rest of the board thinks. If there was an opinion that we should just end the discussion now, I'd vote for that too. But I think tabling it and requiring staff to go and engage very intensely with downtown to discover if there is any version of this idea that would be acceptable, including retaining the possibility that there is not a version of this idea that is acceptable, I think has to be step one. And then from that, I think would come a plan for how we would, if there is a plan that could work, then that plan would form the basis of the hard numbers that Mike was asking about. Because I agree with Mike. I'm not comfortable, signing up to something unless we have data directly connected to us that understands our traffic patterns, that understands our idea, and is prepared to provide us with projections on the basis of that. Because it's possible that whatever plan, if one exists, that downtown is comfortable with, is not going to provide the bang for the buck that we're looking for. And we need to be very aware of that. And so I think we need to slow the roll significantly. And I think as part of that too, it's recognizing that the bridge project is a completely valid part of this discussion, and that downtown is already looking at major disruptions. Brandon's email laid that out really well. I had the chance to talk with Eric and others connected to downtown, and there is real anxiety and concern about that. And I don't think we need to be layering new challenges on right now. I mean, partially it's a timing thing. But again, I think that would come out with the proper level of engagement with people who are going to be affected by this, that if there is a plan that could work, we're figuring out what that plan is, again, if there is one. And I want to acknowledge too, I think the stress that this has caused for business owners. I mean, I think it really, from the people I talked to, there was a major feeling of being blindsided by this. And that's, I know, frustrating for them to experience on top of trying to run their business. And so I do want to take a moment to acknowledge everybody who came tonight and who spoke and who helped make the town what it is, not only the business owners, but the people who work there too. And I think we need to bear that in mind.
I'd reiterate the blindsidedness because I'd caught wind of this in an email and had asked Devin about it. Devin said he was still working on it and asked that I not say anything. And then I find out later that it was presented to the businesses in town without the board ever hearing about it. Or at least I didn't hear about it.
That's not true. I've sent you emails since March saying, please come talk to me regarding a parking program.
Yeah.
Everyone here at board has been apprised
Okay,
of the
so
same information.
as a village trustee, I'm going to continue to talk, Devin,
Well,
okay?
I'm going to talk my part right now.
I'm not interested at this point, okay? And as a village trustee, I'm going to continue to talk for a second. I feel like this could have been handled so much better. I appreciate your guys' business plan. Not you. I would have thought, I was surprised that Wade got up and talked tonight. I would have thought this would have been bounced off of them first. Wade, remind me of your title. Wade, business, is that Wyatt, sorry, wrong W. Wyatt.
Part-time Main Street
Okay, so essentially our Chamber of Commerce now, right? Kind of? Because I did look, we don't have a Chamber of Commerce link anymore on our website. The unintended consequences, I don't think are ever going to be measurable. And I just, the way this came to fruition tonight, I'm just super disappointed.
All right. May I?
One more item. So Devin, to your point about coming and talking to you, I've said this many times. This is a bedroom community. Not everybody has the time to drive down here during the day while you have your business hours.
I have emails and cell phones.
Yep.
All right. What, you need to talk about something?
Go ahead, sir. Please.
No, what do you need?
Well, they talked about data and they talked about knowing. And I agree with you that parking meters can possibly be disrupted. The one thing I would maybe make a suggestion is to just not activate, but put the safety sticks in, in those spots, right? Because we're talking about conjecture. In those, either the crosswalks or places that firemen need to get to, policemen need to get to, crosswalks and things of that nature. Maybe we drop a couple of safety sticks in to just get you the data.
And we've done that before. We call them pilot projects. I think it's an excellent idea to look at that with business owners because, I heard loud and clear what their objections are. And, I've been a small business owner most of my life. And so I understand. And small businesses just don't have a lot of flexibility. And I'm very sympathetic to that. One of the things is, one of my suggestions would be to, have the small businesses identify areas that are currently, a parking spot that probably is disrupting their business or a loading zone or something like that. We could put in a safety stick there, collect data, and really showcase what this technology is. Not necessarily to implement it, in any other way than just a pilot project.
I'm just going to add quick that, Mike, I disagree with you 100%. Devin put it out there. He was asked to find alternate revenue streams or look at ways to think outside the box since we tried referendum a couple of years ago to support police, fire, and EMS, and that failed, right? There are costs that we cannot keep up with. Not only police, fire, EMS, we have infrastructure needs, and our current population and our current tax rate does not support that, right? So he did some research. He looked outside the box, and this was one thing communities were doing. And in the interim, he found out that it also increases turnover for businesses. Businesses actually enjoy it in other places. It turns things over. I'm not saying we should implement this by any means. I agree 100% with what Neil's saying. That there needs more due diligence, need to talk to more people and things like that. But we were all notified of this. He was all, he said, look into it. We've been apprised of everything that's gone on. We asked for more information that brought us here today. So, you know, right now we're looking at it. We want more data. And I think if we decide to go with it, we do. If we decide not to go with it, you know, we don't. But I appreciate your time being here today and explaining things to us as well.
Yeah, like I said, we're working on 6 other developments in the community. We brought in information tonight to go for the board. If it's not something you want to go forward with, this is where we end the conversation and my time. If it's something you want to go forward with, then I will give my time to this project too. We have finite resources in this community, one of which is time of staff. So if this is a project that has no merit going forward, I want to know now before we put in a bunch of resource into an item that has no lead time, or if this is something we want to consider or learn more about, then I know I can go forward with this project and look to see how it's going to benefit us in the future.
I think at the very least, we should probably just wait till the ribbon gets cut on the bridge.
Yeah.
This conversation can continue when that stress has been removed, because at that point, and there's a lot of time between now and then that we can gather a lot of data and make a lot of decisions and come up with a lot of configurations and have a lot of time to talk. But we don't need to do anything until after. This is all about the bridge at this point. Like, we really need to protect the incoming traffic to the downtown community. And this process may have merit, but it does not sit at the same time with the added stress of the potential bridge construction being just a year or two away. So I would rather wait for that bridge to open and then continue the conversation.
As what Ron had said, that we had been talking with Devin to do some research on this, check it out. Revenues are pretty good, but they're no good when you don't have any businesses in town. I'm sorry, but there's enough towns collapsing in the state of Wisconsin. We are on the uphill climb, and we're climbing good. Our finances, yeah, they could be better, but they're going to get even better. I personally, I don't think we should be poking the bear here. We got enough to worry about with the bridge and everything else and businesses. I do like the safety stick idea. That's pretty cool. There is some other spots, but I think really I'm not comfortable with anything right now. I just don't think we're big enough. Our tourism, we're just getting off the ground. I mean, we are really we're getting recognition from the Twin Cities, media. We're getting a lot of stuff going on. And one thing that's going to happen is if we start charging, I think we're in trouble. We'll figure it out. We'll find the money somewhere. There's a couple of people I talked to that says, hey, you could do this, do this. Well, come on in and help us out. Give us some suggestions and we'll deal with that. But my opinion is that I think we need to back away from this. We got to take care of our own right now with the bridge. We got issues. And I just don't think we're ready. I really don't. That's just my opinion.
I would agree with that. I don't think we're ready. And I with the bridge, I'm more apt to hear a little bit more maybe information about, can the safety stick for like fire hydrants, that kind of stuff, can that be used without payment for like if we were to post those, right?
That's for people who park illegally in front of it.
Yeah.
And, so that's why when I started this thing, because I heard what everybody said, and I understand that my first business was the coffee shop. Do you know how much it cost to get back then a $2.75 latte? They used to be cheap. So I get it. But the safety stick is something that I hope you guys consider, because nobody has to pay a ticket unless they park in front of a fire hydrant. And your cops don't have time to go monitor crosswalks. I mean, I heard somebody say that they'd rather they be out there investigating. They shouldn't be out there putting tickets on the windshield of people parked in front of hydrants and
No.
blocking crosswalks.
So the safety stick, each one of these solutions could stand on its own. The safety stick in front of, no parking zones, handicap spots, loading zones, whatnot, are not, there's no app, there's no QR code to pay. It's illegal to park there no matter what. And that whole system stands on its own. And we've found that is that number one, it is a revenue generator. Number two, it's kind of easy, if somebody's parking in a handicap spot and they're not handicapped, I mean, who feels sorry for them? I mean, I don't. And so, but that system could stand on its own. But to Trustee Neal's point, I think that working with the businesses to identify where those spots would be most utilized and it'd be good for them, then that's where we go with this. We need this is 100% stakeholder buy-in. It's not just the village board. It's not just the businesses, and it's not just the residents. It's everybody. So, but the safety sticks is, in my opinion, a really easy entry into the market, and it could showcase, what we could do.
And if we didn't want to go forward with, like, just in this random world, where we go with this, if we decided to go with just the safety sticks, that's it, because that's an illegal parking zone or, whatever to help, our police agencies and that. We don't have to go forward with anything else other than that.
Correct. We have plenty of cities that only do safety sticks. We have cities that only do parking meters, and we have cities and private company or private parking lots that only do camera systems for their lots, and we will do each one individually.
Because I could see that being better for businesses rather than doing a whole paid parking thing, because it's not really cutting into their bottom line as well.
I think if you put one out there, you could, I mean, maybe nobody parks in front of fire hydrants in Newtown. I don't know. But you put it out there and you're going to know. And we don't have to turn them on, and we're not going to charge you to put them out there. So if you guys wanted to try something to rip it through for the rest of summer to get data for your people and for yourselves, pick 3-4 spots and we'd give you the, I mean, that's what I think people need is information.
Yeah.
And that's why the presentation originally, I was going to go through it and do like this whole thing. And then after I heard everybody, I was like, just let's get to the question.
Yeah, I do think we should probably, if we don't shoot it down, we should table it to talk with the business owners on possible options.
I wish instead of the presentation, I would have just brought a safety stick on my back now.
Yeah, because they are really the ones impacted by this. And
Although the way that this discussion continues without shutting it down is just no board action.
No board
Like that,
action, continue to
that can allow Devin to continue to explore options and build whatever might be able to be built to continue the conversation. But yeah, at this time, I don't see any need for board action on this topic. So if nobody else has any questions for MPS, we can move forward. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to 8B, MSA Professional Services. One for MSA contract for the CIP update for next half of this year.
Yes, Drew is here tonight to discuss the CIP and how we're going to go going forward. We're recommending continue using MSA for our capital improvement plan going forward, as they were cheaper than using SEH, and I have been extremely happy with the CIP document that you provided in 24. So I wish to continue using MSA for the services.
Yep, very good. Thank you, Devin. I'm requesting to update the village CIP for the next 2 years. It'll stay similar format. I'll update the document. Basically just removing the completed projects, changing some project years, moving projects forward, reviewing, updating costs if it's indicated to me, and then also looking at that next year, 2030. There was one thing that was brought up to me by village board members previously, and that was we should create a priority ranking system.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what I propose. Basically, it'd be internal village opinion on priority, village staff opinion. That opinion will be provided to you with some ranking, numerical order. So if that is sufficient, because, right, the priority of project will come down to opinion, someone's opinion, whether that's mine writing the document or village staff.
Yeah, and we'll be looking at another CIP meeting again, late summer, early fall. We do the borrow then in January for the 2-year CIP that we currently would approve then at the end of 2025 for 26 and 27.
But this doesn't affect our 5-year plan?
This is, so we currently have a CIP, every 2 years, we adjust our CIP for the projects that we're doing for those 2 years within that borrow. There are some things such as Todd's street sweeper that got moved around a little bit because we found the money for it at a discount rate. So we can move things around. And sometimes too, things change within the CIP as say there's a huge problem with the road that all of a sudden came available that we need to fix, or we were awarded an LRIP grant or something that would change timetables for when we're going to do projects. So every 2 years, we look at that plan that we approved and move things around to the appropriate years.
So the procurement issue, you remember we talked about that?
Many times.
Like how the street sweeper and stuff. So it gives us the latitude yet to make these moves, right?
We can always edit it. Once we approve it, we can always edit and change things around within the CIP too. It's a changing, flowing document. It's not set in stone.
Yeah, that's why it's called a plan. I mean, it's a plan for spending our capital on improving the village. That's why it's called a capital improvement plan. But the one request that I would make of you, Drew, though, is that if we do approve to hire you to continue to revise this plan for us over the next couple of years, I would ask that you work with the lowest version of the borrow budget instead of working towards what we want in our illustrated plans and then backing into what we can afford. I'd much rather start at what we already know that we can afford, and then if money becomes available, we can go up in the borrow from there. Because I think that was a hard part for us when we were setting the CIP up last
we were stuck on
18
the
months
borrow.
ago. We were looking at a borrow of 1.9 or something, and we really only had 1.7 to work with.
We had to cut items from the CIP.
Exactly. So
we put all of our projects in, and then we had to move things around.
right.
To make
So
it
I'd
work.
much rather start with what we can afford and then build in if we get money or grants or whatever, like as they happen. I'm not opposed to adjusting on the fly more often. We can make adjustments to the CIP as often as we get grants. That's great. But I just don't want to pigeonhole ourselves up into a plan that, we can't spend outside of our means.
So the priorities then would move to.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I can comment on what Brad said, just so I know we're talking about the same thing. The village board, they took action on the target borrow amount already. And they said that it could be adjusted by 5 or 3%. One of those numbers.
It was 5.
5%, yeah, that's what we decided would be our target inflation every year. So, and that's in line with what you're directing me to do, Brad, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just ask you a quick question? Just to stress test this. If we have the CIP from last year.
2 years. We had the 24 and the 25. Yes.
Yeah, like the last cycle.
Yep.
I have deep respect for the expertise you bring and the value that you bring to the process. I'm just asking if we can't just update it on our own, like if staff, I mean, it feels like we are likely within the staff in possession of the information we need to do updates to the CIP, particularly if we're not starting from scratch. Like starting from scratch, I could see that's a much bigger project. So I guess I'm opening up for discussion the idea that I'm not sold that we require outside support to update the CIP in a standard kind of 2-year cycle. If there's major things that need to be considered, or it's more complicated than just a 2-year update, I could understand bringing in outside expertise to assist with that. But this, prioritization is essentially a staff meeting to figure that out. And then a meeting with us.
That was my question as well. I was gonna ask if there's anticipated cost for I know it's hourly breakdown, hourly rates, but what is the budget for this and what's the anticipated cost for,
This
updating?
update, yeah, I'm proposing a lump sum fee to update the plan for $2,500. I budgeted a cost in the CIP that would be a project in 25, that was $3,000. So that would be the minimum. And then if required, that we need to have a planning workshop meeting, because let's say we're over budget or some other thing needs to be discussed, or you all need to be in the room, then that would be another $2,500 for me to facilitate that meeting, update the plan as you guys recommend me to.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, in the CIP, we've set aside money for the maintenance of the CIP within it, the borrow. So there was money already set aside for continued maintenance of it.
No, I understand that, but up till, what was it, 4 years ago? Was that when we brought them on?
No, this is the first cycle. Before that, it was done in-house, and it was,
Right.
I mean, Ben did his work, but it was a mess. His background wasn't in that. His background's a city planner. For a city planner, he did a great job, but it was a tough financial document to follow.
I guess my point is just the beauty of the document last year and the ease with understand. I felt like it felt very organized. It felt like we were in part retaining outside expertise to make sure that we had a functional document that could tell us everything we needed to tell us, and that it was a working document. And if the only thing we're proposing to do is add a prioritization scheme to a document that we already have, and then updating items within it, I question the need for outside support to do that, because you are going to liaise with all of our department heads and basically do data entry into the spreadsheet to update it. And that it doesn't seem worthy of retaining outside support to do that, unless there is a component of your work that I am misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Part of it is true, Neil. I mean, your fact that I have a meeting with every village department head, ask their needs, have them adjust their own version of the CIP and work with them. But as a consultant, I review the costs, and I am in that environment, so I'm comfortable in that cost environment. That could be one place where Kevin would lack in creating this document, is the cost. Then also I can target or earmark funding programs, right? And then I actually can decrease the project cost in the CIP document once I've targeted a good funding source. So that's another thing that I can provide. But yeah, you're right. You could task this with village staff. The Village of Osceola has used village staff to make this plan. Ben did it. But I'll reiterate what Devin said, is that Ben just lacked experience in the cost. So the plan was there, but the actual budget and the numbers in there, they were not accurate or wouldn't work. So
I'm really apprehensive about having an at-will MSA representative. I think we're running fairly smooth right now. It's easy when things are going great. We went through a little bit of bumpy road when trying to get this organized, and I would certainly hate to miss something or an update because we're comfortable with the document. We budget for this, and personally, I'm comfortable with having him dealing with this.
I attribute this to doing my own taxes. I know I can do it. I choose to hire somebody to provide some expert opinion.
Yeah, we rotate in and out, Neil. That's the thing. And we hired a treasurer for stability. We have outside help for stability. All right. That's what keeps the staff stable. All right. we are in and out so much. Every 2 years, there's a switch out. And if people get in that just don't know, it's their job, staff, to help keep it honest, transparent, and open to the board members.
I
We
would-
start letting it go, I think we're gonna miss.
I did some napkin math and I mean, Devin's wages are public information, he makes $50 an hour. $2,500 is what the village of this school is all that matters, because extra meetings are gonna happen whether we call them or not, and they're not gonna cost us anything. It's Drew that would cause that expense to happen. So $2,500 equates to 50 hours of work. I can guarantee you Devin's gonna spend more than 50 hours working on the CIP over 2 years.
In a heartbeat.
We'll spend that in a year or less.
I
We'll
would make
spend
a
that much
motion, we
time.
approve this expenditure.
I will second that.
All right, so actually, I think the proper motion would be to approve the contract for services.
MSA.
Yep.
I would make that motion.
And I will second that.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Arvid. Got that down, Carrie? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
Roll call. Neil?
No.
Mike?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
No.
Ron? No?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The ayes have it 5-2. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't hear the differentiation there. So thank you, everybody.
Very good.
Moving to the next one, I'm assuming you're here for this as well. Review consideration of color samples.
Yep, let me provide insight briefly.
The most exciting part of the
Yeah, they're getting passed
Yeah,
around
sorry.
again, so you realize what you're doing.
It is the most exciting part.
After this one, I think we can.
Choose a color.
We started construction on June 4th, and things are going without a hitch so far. We're in the middle of shop drawing review, which is a process where our contractors send me information, and I review and approve them. There are places where the owner or the owner's representative gets in on these shop drawing reviews. So we've delegated Todd as a decision maker initially. Then his decisions are being reviewed by Devin. And then Devin, as he feels it's appropriate, gets your approval as well. Devin, would you like to just comment on the colors?
Yeah, you have 3 colors before you tonight. We're looking for a decision of the 3 for the staircase color. The decking can actually be a different color, but this is for the aluminum powder coat for the staircase that we put down. Those are the 3 colors that, of the 6 that are presented, actually would fit in the best. The other 3 were very light white or off-white colors that would not blend well with the chloride. So those are the 3 colors that are remaining from the first view.
The same as well, we're feeling on there?
It's about that powder coat. That might be more coarse.
Well, the more gray one on there is more coarse than the other 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Those samples came right from Superior Iron.
Well, these are metal also as opposed to aluminum. Let me
Oh,
just,
this is not aluminum?
We're more so the color. We're looking at the
yeah,
color.
so let me make it quick. I buy a lot of architectural metal. Anytime you have to go back and fix something or match it, you want to make sure it's easy to come by. Bronze by far is, if you say bronze, you're always going to get bronze. You start getting into other color codes, then it becomes a process of going back and forth with verifying RAL numbers or
It's gonna be in the shade.
pro, there's a P word.
So
Who's
is
the big paint company?
this the non-skid stuff or?
No,
what?
that's
This is
just the-
railing.
That's just the aluminum deck. The decking is gonna be a different. It's gonna be a different material.
Yep, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, whether you like the color or not, honestly, for a long-term ownership of this, just please, let's go bronze. You can probably speak to that too, right?
So, Brian,
But it's
This
not.
is not on my mind. I like the logic of bronze.
It,
Logical driven answer,
you
but I
can
don't
buy
know.
anything under the sun in bronze
I'm
from
not
a
here to argue about
architectural
colors.
But
standpoint.
one bronze is shinier than the other.
Old one is.
They'll never, once the sun hits it, it'll never match again anyway.
Yeah.
Just pick a color, bronze.
I'm sending these away.
Drew, is the
I have
majority
two
of this,
comments to make
So
too,
would we
if
do
I
the
can make
dull
two
bronze
comments.
then?
is the majority of this gonna be under shade?
Initially, we've just cut a path for the stairs to be installed. So initially, no, but yeah, as the trees recover, take over that sunlight that's going to be hitting the ground, yeah, be under shade. So
You're
first
gonna run into
comment-
issues with mold and moisture and not just sun exposure. You're gonna get all kinds of colors in 5 years. You walk around and look at light poles outside.
Yeah,
Those-
the first comment I want to make, just so you all have all the information is, we can pick any color. These are just samples that were provided based on recommendations that, I thought would capture that earth tones as I was directed, to take. So based on that information, I'm just entertaining discussion on that and helping Devin make a decision here. And then the second thing that I need to comment to you is there will be protruded grading that will be on the landings and the stair treads, and that will be a different color. So that will be at another meeting once the stairs, the color has been decided, and we'll find a color to accent this color.
What'd you say about it's
Yeah,
protruding?
the landings and the stair treads,
Yeah.
it'll have a protruded grading, or another word would be just like a slotted grading.
Expanded metal.
It's not gonna be above the surface, right?
Nope, it's just a style or type of material. It's protruded in a mold.
Okay,
Make it-
right. Doesn't turn out to be like the tree coffins on Main Street, right?
I hope not, no.
Okay.
No, sir.
No.
After the first vandalism too, Todd will be down there with spray paint or roller.
And it'll be a different bronze.
Yeah.
It'll be a different bronze.
Well, again, if you
color.
go with bronze, it at least will be close.
That's protruded grading.
Oh, okay.
That's the platform areas.
Makes sense.
Safe to walk on, but
Makes sense.
precipitation goes
Yes.
through.
Ice and everything
Yep,
dissipates.
it's safe for, bare feet too, and pets.
Unfortunately, no, we don't have any room for public input after the public input's first in the meeting. Yeah, Mike's brought up a good point, with regard to the feasibility of replacement metal. And obviously the bronze is probably the brownest thing out there. I mean,
It's
it's
an
gonna
earth tone.
match, so. I'm with bronze. I don't think we need board action though, right? We just, everybody.
No,
can
and
tell
I
you bronze?
honestly, if you guys get other things that have color tones, go with the most commercially viable option.
Mhm.
Let's not get crazy and pick custom stuff because that
Yeah.
always is a hassle for.
Stay in the
later.
generic brand or the generic color palettes, yeah.
Into the ordinances, as long as it's an earth tone, I think all these colors seem like they're
Well,
close.
historically, we like those darker colors.
We got silver maple and you
There
get
you
black
go.
walnut.
Right.
I think I just covered the palette right there.
Let's bronze it all.
Yeah, I don't think we need the oiled bronze either. I can just, bronze is good.
Yeah.
So,
No, just the
All right, very
plain.
good. Cool. I will follow up again with more shop drawing review as needed, so thanks for
Okay.
your time.
thanks, Drew.
Good to see you.
People will love it.
Become interior designers.
After this conversation, no, we should
I
not.
think we would do very well.
It's been suggested that maybe we take a quick 5-minute break. Okay. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break, come back at 8:17.
5-minute break.
Yeah, they're all earth tone colors. That was the reason I threw 3 of them out. They were like white.
Is that what you were saying, Kim? Was earth tone?
Get a bleed.
I had done.
Kim, they're up here if you want to see them.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's why we're taking this.
And I've got
Kim, I think I'm gonna make the music that's ending at 8:30 and fall asleep.
Mm-mm.
Can we get more earth tone than that?
No, you can't. The only thing is.
Okay.
At the beginning of the meeting? That's actually noted in the minutes. Carrie notes who's here and who's not. We need to do a roll call. We're all sitting behind our signs.
Well.
I'm the guy that looks like me.
It's on. But the public hearing, we didn't do it the right way again. We didn't have the guy give a presentation. So we could have public hearing.
Yeah, that seemed a little,
That was backwards.
it seemed backwards, but
So what you're saying is that you would have liked to have seen the emergency presentation happens.
And then
That's a
the-
discussion only item, then open public hearing, then close public hearing, then have final site plan. That's fine.
You know what I'm saying?
I do,
Because now.
it just gives the people that are out in the public some
This-
a chance to.
Well, this was a super
I'll
easy,
ask a question.
aside from you, I think everybody was for it.
Yeah,
So,
Oh, I was for it.
no, I know.
I agree with you, and I'll let you know.
I mean, we didn't do a presentation.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what questions to ask.
You can either do it, have staff give a quick overview or the applicant.
After you get so, at least everybody like didn't have any questions.
It can just be, it can be site plan overview. So once that discussion item is done, then you do public hearing, close public hearing, then you do formal site plan review.
Yeah, because right now,
I get it.
you had a public hearing, and nobody said it because they didn't know what it was on.
Yeah.
They didn't know the site plan was or anything.
But don't be sad though if nobody comes up and talks, even after we do the presentation.
That'd be very similar, yeah.
And all we did was add a minute to review.
Yeah, this is an action.
But it says public
And that's
comment.
kind of why I was.
You got 5
One thing that I never got a straight answer on is like,
3 minutes and 40.
enforcement wise.
Oh, you mean total time? We've talked about that, and we actually brought that topic up in a meeting, we decided not to have it. The longest public comment session we ever had was an hour, and that was last October when the statute discussion was happening. And even that was within our tolerance.
So, but that's, a lot of things that just a short.
Oh, I know, I gotta show. Yeah.
Kim brought up a good point.
What?
We'll make sure that you're gonna have the sponsor for the project do a quick summary of the site plan.
Yeah, that's how we,
And then finish.
we finished that,
Then
yeah.
do the public hearing, and then close the public hearing, and then do the formal site plan. Because
we
otherwise,
talked-
nobody knows what we're about to, we're asking the public to offer opinion on things they have no idea what it
We
is.
changed it in the planning commission. I forgot to carry that over to here.
Yeah. The next time we have to do that.
Usually we don't have the public hearings here.
I know, they're usually done in plans. Okay, it's 8:17.
Yeah, I already told him. I told him last meeting, I'm gonna keep it.
We got Ron, Arvid in the room. Okay. I just have to wait for Arvid.
I think you're good to go.
You know what? We'll pick up more dirt while you're at it.
Neil, can you check and see if Arvid is in the hallway?
Yeah, he's in. I see him. Van's out there too.
Sorry, we'll be done soon. I know how you feel. I went through it for a month. I did. No, I know. I exact same thing.
Ron, I had the same thing in March. You had it.
Yeah, I had it in April. Okay, it's 8:18. We are back on the record again. Thank you, everybody. Moving to our next agenda item, 8C, purchase and TID agreement for Raska Sewer.
Yeah, Raska Sewer, we agreed to sell the land to him a few months ago. This is the purchase agreement.
They went outside, they had a cigarette, they walked out.
Oh, people are locked out. They close at 8, I believe. We agreed to sell the land, and with that, Raska Sewer has been asking for tax increment financing for his parcel. He's going to get a new water and sewer attachment to this property, as the current tie-in is actually in the lot south to it that was sold to the current property owner. So part of the tax incentive is going to be for the land acquisition, that $30,000, the utility improvements, and the site grade improvements. Estimated to be $130,000 of work being done on the parcel. And that is the tax incentive that we are proposing. In the email earlier this week, you got the pro forma, and this will be cash flow, and we'll have extra years on the end of the increment for the village to capture for the last 4 years of the property. So my recommendation would be to approve the tax
increment financing agreement and the purchase agreement. And this project then will probably go preliminary site plan in July and final site plan in August before the planning commission.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Raska. I just drew a blank.
Purchase and TID.
Purchase and TIF.
Yep. Purchase and TID.
We'll second.
Tax increment financing, TIF.
TIF.
Thank you, Van. Is there a second?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to second
Oh,
Van's
See that?
wonderful
It
motion.
said TID.
Eloquent.
Thank you, Mike. Did you get those, Carrie?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Never draw a
service
blank
again.
once in a while.
Appreciate it.
Saw that blue circle.
Next item on the agenda is 8E, change July meeting date.
Where's her? D.
D?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, I saw TID twice and skipped it. 8D, TID purchase and
yeah.
development agreement for CE Werzer.
Unfortunately, the agreements themselves are not complete. They've been going back and forth between the two parties, and there's been changes multiple times. So the agreement themselves are not complete yet. So I'm not looking for a motion to approve agreements that you cannot see. I will move those agreements to the July meeting. However, tonight, I would be asking for a motion to approve the TID incentive to $1.1 million. That is, once again, for land acquisition, utility work, within that property. That is cash flow. Again, there would be extra years of increment that the village would collect on that for the project. That is the amount they need for this project to work. Without it, they would not be doing this project.
That TID 4?
No, that's in TID 3.
That's in TID 3. So this sits alongside the tax increment financing that we're offering for the Bluffs project as well.
Yes. And so Rasco's in the same one too.
And they
So we're still
all,
capturing.
Oh.
we're
and
still
they all cash
capturing-
flow?
They all cash flow because they're self-contained within within their own property. And then we're paying them off within the time frame. So we're still capturing extra increment then.
Oh, right, because these increments are being offered against their own tax value. Got it.
So we're doing an 80-20 split with them. They get 80% back of their taxes. We keep 20%. And these are roughly 10 to 12 year payoffs. So
Right.
we're still having extra increment
Right.
back end that we're collecting for the final. So if we have any excess debts within the district, those increments that we collect can help pay off those. Like, for instance, if the Osceola project keeps getting pushed out further,
Yeah.
and we have an additional 1.2, we can leverage those funds into that project.
Does anybody not understand why these fit in the TIF with already having a large project development in there? You get it?
I think I do.
Yeah, because the value of the entire district goes up, and that's the dollars that we're using to loan them, and then they pay them back through tax.
And these
discounts.
ones are all self-contained, and
Okay.
we're only giving them back the increment that they increase.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? There's the 12% cap.
Right.
And this is not directly related, but I just want to add, like, where are we in
I
that
asked that same question at admin
12%
finance. Yeah.
cap? Because,
We're nowhere near. We're good.
okay.
I think the last time that I.
Number, whenever we can have it.
I think the last time that I asked it, it was like 7%. Like we were nowhere near our 12%. cap.
Long ways.
It's the question that when we started this, all of these tax increment things that I immediately go to Baird right away, and I go, are these feasible? And then the answer is yes, and then we just go forward. So
Yeah.
there's no worries. This TID is actually going to help the TID district immensely too, having these projects.
Because there'll be more back end dollars to help fund more stuff. So, because these will be paid off not in the 17 years that we have left, they'll be sooner than that. So,
I have maybe a two-part question. You made a comment that the 1.1?
Yeah.
Is that the number? That's the number that they need to get in order to move forward on this?
Yeah, so overall, we're estimating that their taxable project will be about $12 million. And generally, the safe amount to give back in TID incentive is between 10 and 20%. That is usually able to cash flow within the life of the TID district. So we're giving them, less than 10% of their taxable value back. Back in value. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, and I may ramble here for a second. So that's a general rule of thumb that has been around for a while, I'm guessing, right? And maybe we don't have a whole lot of TIDs or TIFs coming future, but it seems like this is a good parallel for, like, we just had something with MSA where we're using a third party to evaluate a financial or a decision. for some checks and balances. Is there not, does finance get into this, or is there a reason for like a third party to review some of these? Baird?
We have financial advisors, Baird. That's where I make sure that these performas that you get, to look at it, they're performed by Baird to make sure that these can cash flow. They're also my check and balance to go say, does this work within the current TID district structure that we have? And these have all passed muster. It's all within best practices for TID districts for this. With it too, we are creating an extra increment to allow us to do the Ridge Road project, because some of our other projects on Ridge Road aren't paying. We're not giving them a TID incentive such as the Caleb C project. So we're capturing all that increment to do the project on Ridge Road to expand it.
So, okay, so the second part of the question is at what point do we, and maybe we're doing it, when do we negotiate a little harder back and ask for?
Oh, sorry, Ron, I was
yeah,
another question.
That's fine. Is there an option for us to negotiate back and not give so much?
What you're reimbursing them is their tax dollars themselves. The standard for TID incentive is, but for TID, you can't do this project. So they have to show a compelling reason of why they need this. Basically, they showed me the cost that they have eligible for TID. There's only certain things that are eligible for TID projects. And he originally asked for 1.3. I said, I'm more comfortable at less than 10%. And we agreed on the 1.1 with Ridge Road not being included. If they were going to pay for Ridge Road, we probably would have had a much higher number, because that would be another eligible expense for it. So we've already talked them down. We try not to give them, we try to give them the amount to make the project happen and not.
Yeah, there's a happy medium there.
So, yeah, and the simple question is, show me your expenses and why this doesn't work. And the simple thing is but for TID, this project, the but for test is the standard test for TID districts.
I feel like we're running out of property here soon that we can use this, and maybe now we should start tightening our negotiating skills and not giving away so much, maybe, or letting just.
So I think a village planner would be huge.
Yeah.
Because people come and say, I want to put this here, and it's not maximized space.
Yeah,
The space we have left, we have to make sure it looks nice and it conforms with what we have left.
On the plus side is they're paying full price for the land up front. So we're realizing that dollars up front because they're paying $300,000 for the land.
Again, we only have so much land.
And then we're reimbursing them back through their own taxes for their dollars.
I think this is a great idea. I want to see it go. I'm asking the question for future reference, and maybe someday in the future we get to be a little bit tougher negotiators and we try to haggle harder, I guess, for lack of a better term. And maybe that's a planner. Maybe that's taking Baird to do it.
Some communities, they're not nearly that high because they're so popular. People want to move there.
Yeah,
Like
it's.
that. Other developers have communities by the shore because they say, well, if you don't do that, I'm gonna go to this community.
Well, we were that way for a long time. We had a bunch of bum land and nobody wanted.
And Worcester did run into a little issue with the last building. They found out what their cap is for rental. So that puts a little change on the perform of what they can feasibly get for a unit. So that does change their math too. Like, if they're in Hudson, they could probably get 18 to 2,000 rather than 1,500 they get here. So that does change their math too.
And some of it too is the communities complaining they want more affordable housing, and this helps that. So I'm willing to say, okay, we'll find some happy compromise, but moving forward, again, we're running out of land, I think.
Yes.
Unless we annex more.
Or go taller.
No, we don't.
Well,
need to go any taller.
we could get down to like a 50-foot lot and squeeze more in.
That discussion's next.
Yeah, that.
I know. I did that on purpose.
I saw that.
Add a little spice to the.
This,
No.
this TID pro forma works. Baird's reviewed it. They recommended it. Looks like it's gonna go. I'll offer a motion that we approve this TIF.
Second.
A motion by myself and a second by Neil to approve the TID and associated financing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, now that we're done with TIDs and TIFs, 8E, change July meeting date.
Self-explanatory, July 4th holiday, the first week in July. I know multiple people will be gone that week, so this would push Planning Commission and Village Board back a week.
Sounds good.
Tuesday,
The only,
July
yeah, that's
15th.
the only
Not
issue.
Monday, July
Yeah,
15th,
it's-
for the record.
Yes.
I did that.
I did read it. I read it.
I think so.
No.
Does anyone have a pool we can move this all to, maybe?
Can I have a motion to approve the changed date?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Most likely the plan commission meeting will then move as well.
Yeah.
That was on there.
That was on the memo.
Okay, dates then, so. Okay,
The planning will move to the 8th. And the
Perfect.
board will move from the 8th to the 15th.
that's why it said dates. Got it.
I had the dates right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, 8F ordinance 2501, amend village code to change lot size. First read.
Did someone say something?
Is that 50-foot one?
No, since the beginning of the year, planning commission has been talking about a few items and addressing some housing, zoning concerns that we've had. One of them came in was amending the lot size minimum with, the planning commission recommended a 75 minimum, lot size with, during their discussions. They talked about it at two different times, once in the January meeting and then once in, the March meeting. And this was the recommendation from the planning commission to adjust our village code to go down to 75 feet,
which is currently
90.
So one of the comments I think I made, this would apply to anything that wasn't a planned urban development. So it's the random lots that are still left in town.
Or new ones that would be annexed,
That would be split, yeah.
Sure, shoehorned things.
Right.
I think it was 2 meetings ago that I think it was the crux of the conversation that I don't know where this applies yet. Like it really doesn't. Sure, there's hypotheticals, but I just can't see where it's going to get implemented. And everything we've seen recently is planned urban development. They come with a plan, we look at it, and then decide whether or not the numbers work. And I actually like. Kim has had a real hard issue with planned urban developments, but I like the fact that we can see the development on what they're trying to do and then make the adjustment for it. Whereas here, we're just saying, let's go ahead and make it smaller. And then all of a sudden somebody finds a 150-foot lot and shoehorns 2 houses into it. And all of a sudden we're like, wow, that didn't work. That was a poor decision. So we're finding a solution to a problem we haven't had yet.
Yeah, I think that the counterpoint to that was made was that we spent a lot of time with a very large development in town dealing with restrictions and outdated code, if it were to be parking or if it were to be, first floor bedrooms in a mixed use development outside of the downtown business corridor or whatever other changes to village codes that were made. Oftentimes your village code doesn't get changed until something comes before village code that conflicts against it. And then somebody's asking for you to help them because they see an opportunity and your code blocks it. The other way to go about this is to get ahead of it, look at trends, look at what the municipalities around you are doing. And if the trend is that lot sizes are getting smaller, which they absolutely are. We have a realtor on our planning commission that shares the opinion with many that yard maintenance is just not what it used to be anymore. People don't want it. Lot sizes are getting smaller, houses are getting deeper, garages in front, house behind. So there's many communities that are going to even smaller than 75. We were pretty lenient in our option to even propose going from 90 to 75 because, to Mike's point, how many properties in the village does it really provide option for? Not many. Like there aren't just that many properties in the village that moving it from 90 to 75 would provide an opportunity to build on it. But that's not to say that there might be more property in the village at some point and more dense housing options on that property is how that's.
Yeah, and that should bring this conversation full circle. One of the reasons why lot size are getting smaller is you're looking at an estimated $1,000 a linear foot for development on property. So you're taking at $1,000 a linear foot, a 90-foot lot width is $90,000 lot before you can put a house on it. So anytime you can afford to get a lot smaller, you're reducing the cost of the home.
And I guess for the sake of discussion, I was in Eau Claire today at our regional housing conference that our regional economic development organization puts on. And they had a professor of urban planning from Madison who was the keynote, and I knew that this was coming up and I knew we were going from 90 to 75. And so I snagged him afterwards and just asked because when I read this, my question was, well, why 75? What's the rationale for 75 or something smaller or something bigger, or what are we trading? And his it was standing in a hallway, and I'm by no means a zoning expert, but his suggestion was that you could honestly go as low as 60 and still retain essentially a minimum that would, to your point about a garage in front, house in back, that you would, that would be a number that would be the minimum that that kind of design could exist on.
Right.
And for me, the primary reason to think about doing this is because every foot you add is $1,000 to a lot. And that is a big underlying component of the cost of homes and new homes. And we do have a housing problem. And in particular, if 60 feet will get you the same thing 75 feet will give you, and 60 is just the minimum, you can still do the 75 foot if you want to. I think that there's, in my view, I would be comfortable voting for 60 because we're not losing any kind of control over what type of house is built on those lots. They'd be closer together for sure. But I think that's where, you know, the affordability piece comes in because it really does impact the cost of new builds.
And the PUD that we're currently discussing in Plan Commission for the larger development does have many that are 60-foot lots.
I think
And
my original proposal was 60 feet also.
yeah, they're gonna be, that's gonna be stacked together, and that's not gonna be the small town feel that we probably
And we're-
need here, so.
We're on the crux of just saying it's okay to shove it on, you know, 7th or 8th Avenue by doing something like this.
Yeah.
I can see the lots behind,
The schools. and
Terry
stuff.
Steffen's place.
Yeah.
Behind your house.
Yep.
So to expedite this, I'm gonna make a motion, we approve it.
On what, 75?
The 75.
The first read,
read.
so,
Oh, shoot, because then I was gonna vote against it.
no,
just
it's
to
gotta
keep
be,
moving.
it's gotta be read twice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we can go forward, but it didn't.
Yeah, just,
My view is I can live with 75, I would not want to.
Yeah, 60's pretty tight. 60's real tight.
Well, tiny home communities.
No,
But-
we're not.
The PUD, fine. Let's show what it looks like.
Have the developer come to you with a planned use development where they put the houses in the way that they want, and it's its own
It's like,
space.
it's like the big city, you know, St. Paul was every house right next to
Yeah.
each other.
5 foot
Just a
setback.
sidewalk.
Well, the house between 8th and 9th on Chieftain on the east side, which is where, next to where I grew up, that thing looks so out of place.
Yeah.
It's really tight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly, that lot's gotta be a 75-foot lot, I bet.
Start moving in manufactured homes and next thing you know.
All right, we good? We move on?
Thank you for your feedback on that.
All
We'll
right. 8G, HPC application for certificate of appropriateness, Jackpots Investment.
So normally they wouldn't come here, this would be approved at HPC, but they included windows and doors. So it needs to be approved to get it moving along faster for them.
Can we get some more detail?
You guys wanna come up?
Yeah.
we have the image of it.
Yeah,
It should be in there.
we met with them and everything's looking good as far as their plan,
Right
so.
here, right? This is what we're talking about.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, because it's not just signage, we've got windows and doors
Right.
included. It's beyond the
It's a
purview of HPC.
Yeah.
It's a certificate of appropriateness for their awning and their sign. And
Okay.
was it, you guys doing sign or the awning? I couldn't.
The awning.
Yeah.
It calls out option B, which I think is the awning on the right there, right? And then there was a comment about, was there a color comment?
Black isn't it? It was acceptable color.
Yeah.
Well, I got 3 colors there.
Oh, that's
Is that
fine.
okay?
It's
Black, white.
fine.
Well, I don't think white's considered.
Right.
It's not a color?
It falls under
value.
HBC. It's fine.
The sign would have been approved at HPC.
HPC would have approved the sign?
Would have
Okay.
been done, but then with the windows and doors, they had to get approval once they resubmitted their applications.
They're going with
Okay.
big windows, big glass.
So the board action requested here is to approve the certificate of appropriateness
Yes.
in lieu of the fact that HPC could not because of the additional elements. Got it. Anybody have any problems with this layout?
And it is the same windows that are on Treasure Alley and Adder.
It's gonna look good.
Also, the interior windows right here in the library.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bronze aluminum frames with the tinted glass.
We're in the bronze, so this
Yeah.
is going.
I heard that earlier.
You're ahead of it, so.
Easy to fix.
I hope someday we clean up what's historically acceptable in this town, because I find it hard to believe that this building, the bowling alley, your building, Adaray's, and then Looking
The
Glass
Methodist
are all
Church.
somehow the same architectural feel.
And the Methodist Church?
And the Methodist Church.
They're working on design standards.
Well, there's
Well,
different.
you gotta throw them out because there isn't one. You'd have to tear town down.
Oh, no, there's different,
You have to have roofs and windows and doors.
correlations.
You'd stop right there.
Hey, we approved the awning.
I make a motion, we approve this.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mike and a second by Neil to approve the certificate of appropriateness for Jackpot's investment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you for staying for the
Thanks
meeting.
for your patience.
Appreciate that.
Gary, I noticed Jackpot's investments wasn't on the list for the liquor license.
Yes, it was.
No.
It should
Is it
be.
on there?
Yeah.
I thought so.
I didn't see it on
I didn't see it.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
It's agenda item 4.
Backside.
I was
2E.
Okay.
Class B fermented malt beverage
Yeah, we
application.
gotcha.
It's there. Yeah.
You don't want to hold up the nectar of the gods.
Yeah, I'm on a line. I'll stop talking.
8H conditional obstruction permit applications. So we have several here. We have
Yes, I'd recommend going one by one or as they're listed for it. Carrie, anything you want to add from that meeting that happened?
Yeah, before we actually name them all, do you want to just
So,
call anything out?
The
of note?
recommendations below are how the motion should be looking.
I don't understand.
Under recommendations, if you read my recommendations, that kind of like, I was kind of set
Oh,
up
thank you.
how the motions were set up.
Well, it looks like you solved the Croyland thing.
That was the point of that one, yes.
Yeah, but I think that follows the rules. It gets what needs to
Now
be
we
done.
have owner approval of the sign placement from Cutler. Got it.
Yep.
That was always,
The only other issue I have in here is that a few of them are conditionally following the ordinances, and I know there's always questions about whether they're actually being followed based on times and clearances and things
Well,
like that.
we talked about that also at the HPC meeting.
can I
ahead.
see the Looking Glass application? Do you have it in the packet?
It's not in the packet. None of them are in the packet.
Okay, I know that
Exact application.
same one, same picture. I've seen a second sign though down by the statue.
Not in there. The only one in the Looking Glass is the Cedar Crest.
Okay, are they allowed to apply for a second? Like, can that be applied for?
It's not supposed to.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be allowed to have.
I'm just playing devil's advocate on this because someone's gonna bring it up.
And the bench outside, I know.
But that's it, like, we don't really, we never enforce these.
The question
It's a state
for,
application.
That's not true. That sign has made its way to the village office a couple times.
Yeah, and we talked about that at the HPC meeting. And, whether a village crew or somebody picks that sign up once it's out. We talked about putting the stuff inside at night, and this should be done. We just have to, we have to.
The night, that property aside, the night thing is definitely one of the issues, is because then it starts to we keep getting creep. So I like how this is worded. I think this addresses all of the things we've been talking about or beating around the bush for quite a while.
Right.
The process now is that we need to enforce something.
Right.
So I would make a motion that we recommend these obstruction permits
with enforcement.
with enforcement as recommended on page 123 of 123, lines 1 through 6.
Agreed. I'll second that. Motion by Mike and a second by myself to approve the conditional obstruction permit applications with the stipulations provided in the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no.
I will have a captive.
Motion carries.
I'll have a captive audience the 23rd for the 243 bridge. I will make sure that they're all aware of.
Perfect, because that's business owners.
Yep, that's a Wyatt thing too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. All right, let's go across the room, see if anybody's got anything you want to either add to the agenda or quick updates on stuff. Nicole?
Nothing.
Welcome to the board. Sorry I wasn't here last month.
Thank you.
I was coughing like Ron did all night.
I mentioned to Devin, and I'll just mention it here, I think we probably should try to address the shoveling issue before the snow flies again? Maybe talk to the county about plowing differently up on that end of town?
Yeah, we shouldn't let that go. Yeah.
Good
There
idea.
was a discussion about whether or not that sidewalk could be exempted from code with a code update, potentially, the Geiger Street one, so.
Well, the safe path thing is, I'd entertain it encompassing because it has other community value.
Yeah, you're right.
Is it possible to get a phone call to the county before July's meeting?
Mhm.
Then we can put it on the July agenda. Thanks for
Good
bringing that up.
idea.
Ron? I got nothing. Man,
I will have one thing. Tonight, we've seen an example of good public input as to our decisions affect so many people. So in the problem of garnering extra money for the village, I know this is a sore spot with Ron, but I'm going to bring it up, and I think we should address it.